Support for Good Noticings comes from cotton, the fabric of our lives.
Ashley, you were the one who was teaching me because you know everything about fabric.
I don't know everything about fabric. There's always room to learn more.
But you were telling me denim is cotton.
Yeah.
Chambray is cotton. You know what one of the biggest mistakes I made last year at Primavera was? I wore a wool two-piece suit and it locked the heat in and I was so hot. And if I've learned anything about how to go to a festival this summer, it's like wear cotton because the thin layer keeps you cool, but it also protects you from the wind.
Yeah, you want like a breathable fiber that is so soft but
it also can cover you from potentially like sunburns. You know what I mean? I love it because I can do like an easy breezy cotton layer.
You want it soft and
from day to
sweet
night
on your skin.
Yes. You want something that's going to be good pre and post sundown.
Yeah.
The next time you shop, check the tags for cotton. Good noticings, Ashley.
Good noticings to you, Claire. This is Good Noticings.
I feel wonderful. I feel like today is a brand new day, and that is objectively true.
Yeah, it is. It's like yesterday was an old day, and today is a new day.
And tomorrow's even newer.
Yeah.
You know what they say about tomorrow? Not promise.
Yeah.
Yesterday, a gift. Today, the present. Tomorrow, a box on its way.
Yeah.
A UPS from God.
Sure, we've got tracking info on it. The calendar.
Oh my God.
But
calendars
are lost. Anyway, Claire, any announcements?
I'm so excited for our show coming up this Thursday. It's tomorrow. Tickets are sold out, but there's always like 5 or 10 people that don't show up. So if you're in the neighborhood and it's no sweat off your back to come by, I'm sure there'll be tickets at the door. A couple. Yeah, sneak in.
We're also doing the show 3 more times this summer at Union Hall. So if you want to catch one of those shows, baby, we've got you covered. We also are going to be doing our book club in Boston. We're going to be reading Kin by Tayari Jones on July 9th. The tickets are going to go up this week on the Patreon.
And the discussion for the first 100 pages is live on the Patreon right now. So if you're desperate to talk about the first 100 pages, we've got the group chat for you. Check it out on patreon.com/Good Noticings Pod.
I also have a weekly show every Thursday at Canal Bar. Come out, laugh, enjoy yourself.
And I have a weekly show every other Wednesday at Mood Ring.
And if you want to laugh every day of the week, that's our goal, is to deliver that to you eventually.
Yeah.
Claire, do you have any recommendations?
I actually really do.
What are they?
Recommendation number 1 is called St. Mary's Clothing Drive, stmarysclothingdrive.com. It is a charity that helps donate your clothing. It gets it to people. Some of the clothing it resells to help cover the cost of operations. But if you, like me, have a box of clothes that you've been claiming you're going to donate, but just keep forgetting every single weekend for upwards of 8 years, and it's just like a burden on your home to the point where you're like, would it be better to burn these clothes? stmarysclothingdrive.com. You schedule a pickup. They drive to your house. They take all your clothes. They're gone. It was so easy. They really do a good job of trying to get them back out into the community. And I just think even if they don't, at least you've done your goddamn part. It's so hard to donate clothes when you don't have a car. I will give the car people that. Large items, it's hard to get out. It's hard to drop off. I feel like in this city, sometimes you don't know where to drop it off. Anyway, I can't recommend it enough. I'm so happy. I feel so unburdened. I was able to give away some great coats for the winter and clean out my closet. So I'm very happy. Recommendation number 2, Bliss Spa.
You've been recommending that for better part of a decade.
Have I recommended it yet on this pod?
No, I don't. I'm just saying it's like a true blue recommendation.
This is probably...
It's like it's in your blood.
Prick your ears up. Prick your little ears up. I will only get waxed at one spot in the world, and it is Bliss Spa. I think they have a couple locations. They used to have way more. They went under. I don't know why. But they've got one in Soho. Google it if you have one. They use this like special blue wax that doesn't hurt at all. I had a really traumatizing first wax experience where I went to the back of a nail salon and this woman did a single strip and it hurt so bad that I was like, I gotta get out of here. Very, very Meg Stelter, like, get me out of here. And you know what the lady said? Absolutely not. You're paying for the wax, you're getting a wax. And I said, I'll pay you double to stop, please, I beg. And I guess she was really afraid that I would get out of paying. So she insisted that I get the whole wax. And I just sat there and it hurt so bad. And I was like in tears trying to escape. And it took me years to build up the courage to go back. But luckily, society pressures. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for the pressure of society to be a hairless nubile, I probably would have said never again. But, you know, I feel it every day as a woman. So I went back and I went to Bliss Spa. And it doesn't hurt at all. They're so good. It's so quick. It's like a nice experience. They used to have amazing cheese and crackers and brownies in the locker room. I think they've since gotten rid of it. But if you can find them,
I would say
put
that
some in your
probably
purse.
was a COVID fatality. I don't know that you can do cheese in a...
They keep it in a tray. It's really nice. Anyway, some of the best brownies in New York City, I tell you. The wax doesn't hurt at all. I've tried other waxers since. I've gone to European Wax Salon or whatever. That place sucks ass in comparison. Bliss Spa is the best wax. Bliss, if you're listening, I have been recommending you and going to you for years. You owe me. I feel there's two things on earth that I feel paid dude by.
Farmer's Fridge and Bliss Spa.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sorry. I know that that's an entitled belief, but I am entitled to at least a free fucking Southwest salad in a jar, please. I just want one. I want $20 off once, please. Anyway, my third recommendation, patience.
Oh, patience is a virtue.
Patience in becoming a regular. I have to say, I moved a little over 3 years ago. I have a place that I'm a regular at. I've been saying hi to my neighbors. I hit 3 years and I'm like, I did it. I'm here. I feel like I know everyone everywhere I go. I feel like on my way to get my coffee, like my coffee routine has upwards of 9 hellos in the morning of people I see regularly.
Oh, that's amazing.
I really am like, I've did it. I've built a community. Every time I leave the house, I run into somebody I know. I've got my little neighborhood now. It took 3 years. I think a lot of people want to show up and where's my friends? Where's my friends? Put in the time. It takes a while. It takes going somewhere daily, maybe even weekly you could get away with. But, you know, give it 6 months. Give it daily 6 months, weekly, a year. That's how long it takes to become a recognized face. But it's worth it. It's worth it to put down your roots. And can I do a coming soon?
No, I want to make this one of my recommendations.
Sure,
I didn't know if you were
Okay.
going to recommend it. We'll talk about it. Okay. My first recommendation, the movie Hoppers.
I do think we're going to do watch it right now so that on Thursday, spoiler free, we could give you a blow by blow of what happens in Hoppers because it really is the movie that Amelia Perez set out to be.
I mean, the way that movie unsettled me, shook me, and reminded me of like the value of filmmaking. I'm not even kidding.
The twists and turns, like talk about the moral gray areas. It's really, it delves into tricky ethical questions that I think will leave you more open-minded than you went in.
Yeah, I think it's like a nuanced take on, is the right the same as the left? No, but like everyone's fighting for something that they think makes sense or that
and it's the truth of like all of us are culpable in some ways of doing whatever it takes to survive.
Yeah. Like where is compromise necessary? Where are the cheaters? Where are the liars? Where's the conversation required?
What do we really know about nature?
Nothing.
I mean, it
absolutely
really,
fucking nothing.
It begs some questions. And let me tell you, some of the little animals are really cute. I asked Mac, who's cuter, me or the beaver from Hoppers?
The beaver from Hoppers.
He goes, Claire, it's the beaver. It's a really cute animal. He wouldn't even entertain it.
But I bet he wouldn't marry the beaver from Hoppers.
He wouldn't even humor me.
I bet he wouldn't marry a cartoon beaver, though.
I hope not. He's never had the opportunity.
My second recommendation is Mata, M-A-T-T-A Studios, I believe. It's like a clothing store in Fort Greene that does like dead stock fabric designs, like shorts, flowy pants, dresses. And on the weekends, it's like a fully open studio. Otherwise, you can shop online.
Spell it again.
M-A-T-T-A.
Studios.
Yeah. And it's on the weekends when you go, if you can go in person, I really recommend it because obviously you can try stuff on. And then they also they have other like artisans there. So you can like, you know, shop other like textiles and ceramics and just like other things, which is fun. They all have like local people. But the clothes I really like, I got a pair of shorts there that are so light and airy. And I didn't want to recommend them until after I'd washed them because I was worried that like a soft natural fiber short, one wash, and it would be just like a wrinkled pile of whatever. It's not. They look great. They're very crisp, very light. You know when in the summer when it's 100 billion degrees and you're like, the idea of putting clothes on right now feels deeply uncomfortable, but I have to because of Adam and Eve and the biting of the tree, and you can't just go out nudie patootie.
No, it's not right. We're not beavers.
We're not beavers.
No beaver here.
You have to put something on, and this is something so light, so breezy, so perfect, and like cute.
Fun.
And my final recommendation this week is Slip eye masks. A silk eye mask. I have one from Slip.
You've been sleeping in an eye mask?
Sometimes. Not a lot. Because I like waking up with natural light, but sometimes, like this weekend, I stayed out very late. And I did not want to wake up with a natural light. I wanted my body to get the rest it required. And so I have this eye mask that I don't wear all the time, but sometimes when you really need sleep, I think it really helps. It made such a difference. I woke up at 10:30 a.m. uninterrupted.
Do they fall off your face when you sleep? I've always found the idea of an eye mask to be uncomfortable.
So
I've
this
never given
one
it a go.
doesn't. Like I had another eye mask once that I lost. I don't know. How do you lose an eye mask? I think I brought it on a plane or something because I thought it would be like chic. And then it was gone forever. But that one didn't always stay on. This one has fallen off if I've slept very roughly. But this one stays on my head, keeps the sun out. And, you know, I do like waking up with the sun, but you can't always live like that. Sometimes I have to go against nature. And I think that this eye mask, made of nature's silk, allows me to do that with grace.
Beautiful. And also, you guys, if you didn't know this, all of our recommendations from every week are like neatly stored. They're organized by type. They're organized by cost. They're organized by link in an Airtable that we have on the Patreon. And that link is in every Patreon description ever. Like, I think sometimes people are looking for them and it's just, if you open up the description of what's in a Patreon episode, that link is in every description. So if you're ever looking for a place to see all of our recommendations in one place, if you're ever looking for some ideas about New York City, that's where they are.
Yeah, that's where we keep all of our ideas. Should we talk about what we're going to talk about?
Yes, today we are talking about EmRata, former memoirist, current hot girl, and slut, turns out.
And essayist.
Yeah.
We're going to be talking about the Unwell Network.
Yeah, what's going on there? Can a mean girl have a company?
Has anything new been uncovered, or are we still digging deeper?
Are we still circling the drain on what the fuck happened between those blondes? Blonde on blonde crime.
Deed theft.
Yeah, I've been hearing deed theft for a while, this phrase, and I'm ashamed to admit that I kind of thought it was like a metaphor for when developers buy a house for cheap and then flip it.
No, but it's like proper thief.
It's
like stealing
honest
the
to
house.
God stealing. And so I did some research into it, and I'm going to tell you what it's about and what Zoran's doing to fix it.
And then we're going to be talking about Gwyneth Paltrow. She recently did an ad for an Israeli real estate development. But does that mean she's evil?
And on top of that, she recently released on her own Instagram a clip of her podcast where she was saying that she doesn't feel much of anything and is pretty neutral politically, which in this climate feels like an insane thing to say since so many horrible things are happening all the time and they're mounting.
Especially given who she platforms on her podcast.
Yeah, it seems like she feels a certain way. Anyway, I just was like, I think at this point to be apathetic, you're like, well, that feels pretty evil. Ashley did some digging and you'll never believe it. It's worse than we thought.
I'll tell you what, I feel sick. Oh, Gwyneth. The value of being a likable blonde.
The ability to wear cashmere can get you so goddamn far in this world.
Oh, when she wears glasses and no makeup and people go, she's just like us.
Have you ever watched her make breakfast for her husband?
The liberal.
Yeah. And
her husband, the progressive.
And you can tell it's the most calories she's ever seen at once. And it'll be like an arugula omelet from her garden. And you can be like, well, this is a man's breakfast because it has 2 different carb-centric vegetables in it, zucchini and tomato. I opt for something lighter, like a coffee.
Do you know what she says on her podcast? We're not even really going to get into this part, but she's talking about her husband. In that clip you mentioned where she says she doesn't feel anything, she says, my husband, he's very progressive. He like cares about everyone and wants the best for everyone. And he thinks I'm a Republican, but I'm not a Republican. I don't feel much of anything.
It just goes to show, like, men will fuck anybody
this
hot.
Pussy over here wants good for people, but not insofar as he would give up my arugula garden.
Like, yeah, not insofar as it's a value he
would marry.
Yeah, it's not like something he values in another person is also goodness, but he wishes the children weren't being bombed, but he doesn't care if I bomb them.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, if you need him to donate some money to your basketball team, he might.
But then I might bomb that basketball team. So don't waste the money.
Yeah, but it's only because Jesus wanted you to.
Is she religious?
No, but she agrees that Jesus might want you to. We'll get into it.
What could that mean?
I'll tell you what, I don't know that she agrees with it, but I know she doesn't disagree with it enough to say, wait a second, when someone is saying that to her. Unwell Network. So when Alex Earle left the Unwell Network, she at that time was the second most prominent talent associated with Unwell Network.
Underneath who?
Alex Cooper.
Sure. Whose network it is.
Whose network it is.
She was their number one signed talent, I think.
Yes. When she left, Alex Cooper held an all-hands meeting where she said, "We do not stand for mean girls at this company," and didn't give very much other information.
That's it. That was the meeting. We don't stand for mean girls at this company. Which, can I say, on multiple levels, aside from that being like not enough information, it also, so the whole thing about this article is about like how Alex Cooper has promised this like new wave feminist paragon of creating media for women by women, women only, girls rule, boys drill. To even be using the phrases mean girl, especially professionally, to me is so anti-fem. Like, I do think there's this weird thing of like, just admit you're a business and then people won't get fucked over. But to be living in this world of like, well, mean girls don't get jobs here. Anyone could be a mean girl.
Yeah, you're a mean girl.
Now what, you don't get benefits? You know what I mean? To me, it's like so one step forward, two steps back.
I guess it especially begs the question of what is a mean girl to you, because it feels that a mean girl could mean anything. And in the Unwell universe, a mean girl means someone who is doing what Alex Cooper doesn't want them to do. Like, that's a mean thing to do.
Can I say, it is a business and she does run it.
Right. But I mean that from a perspective of like the author of an article about Alex Cooper allowing, toxic practices at her business. Like, that's mean girl behavior.
Yes.
Alex Earl alluding to Alex Cooper's toxicity is a bit questionable, just because it's like, say something or don't. Like, I agree with Alex Cooper in that sense. I'm like, if you have something to say, fucking say it. But
especially when you think about the timeline of, she left Unwell Network a year and a half ago.
Mm-hmm.
A year and a half ago, she left Unwell Network. Alex Earl did. And if she still doesn't have a story to tell, then like, I guess you don't care.
Well, I guess my fear is that she's saving it for her TV show.
Can I say that she shouldn't have started drama this early?
I agree.
So one of the interesting things about this article is this article becomes like an article about the experience of writing the article, because when the Unwell Network caught wind of this Vanity Fair piece coming out, and as the author of this article was working on it, other pieces came out. The Business Insider piece about the turnover rate, the story of Matt Kaplan, Alex Cooper's husband, being kind of the in-charge asshole of the company. Vanity Fair started getting threats from the Unwell Network, and also blind items, quote unquote, started getting leaked to Page Six, denigrating the author of this article and saying that she is like an Alex Earl fangirl because she had written an article about Alex Earl for Airmail Weekly, which is another publication. That being said, I find like that context of this article to be very interesting, because there are some feminized descriptions. This is the third paragraph. They had gathered in the conference room in Los Angeles, a cement and glass space designed in collaboration with West Elm and possessed of that particular brand of minimalism, new Gucci-style lamp and all, that young founders dream up and design firms deliver. The staff is mostly young women, dressed in LA's take on office casual. Uggs, cherry baseball caps, Cartier love bracelets, Mad Happy sweats, or a thrifted leather jacket, take your pick. The air, tinged with the scent of Sol de Janeiro, was still as the girls waited for answers. There is something very like, what are you trying to say here? Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I do think it's an apt description. She also calls out that this is many employees' first job, and because it's a largely Gen Z office, a lot of these girls grew up on Alex Cooper, and it does remind me of working at Man Repeller. Like, this is a way that I think would be fair to describe the Man Repeller office, despite it being largely feminized. And I think maybe you could read that as degrading, but it is ultimately like the vibe they're going for, is to sit here and give us this like false
of the girls by the girls.
Yeah.
We're the ladies.
We're the ladies. I mean, Alex Cooper very proudly states like most of the company is women. This is like an office for girls. Like, I don't want men working here. But then this author very correctly points out, well, Matt Kaplan's in charge.
And underneath him is another man, a man in his 50s who has like done kind of creepy things before.
Exactly. So at the very top of the org chart, you are having this organization run by men, largely populated by women. But what does that ultimately mean when the only woman at the top is the woman married to one of the men? Like, you know what I mean?
And then on top of that, this article in conjunction with the Business Insider article give this idea that ultimately it's his company and she's the face of it, but he's the person who runs it day to day. There's even a quote of somebody like yelling at assistants being like, get her ass off the couch eating flaming hot Cheetos into these meetings as if Alex Cooper is lazy. And I think you can accuse her of being a lot of things, but I don't think she's lazy.
Mm-hmm.
She did build a media empire.
Yeah, I definitely think it's very interesting that this article clarifies that Unwell Network is a subsidiary of Ace Entertainment.
Mm-hmm. Matt Kaplan, as we've already said, is somebody who he grew up in LA. He went to Columbia. He got into the film world. He owns a production company that did To All the Boys I've Loved Before. He's known for having dated Ashley Olsen, Aaron Foster. He married Claire Holt, who was an actress, and then married Alex Cooper. And there is an obvious pattern there of famous, hot power girl.
Yeah.
And blonde. Wow, he has a real type.
He has a real type. So he is a producer. Unwell Network was founded, I feel, seemingly as Alex Cooper's business, but it is a subsidiary of his company, Ace Entertainment.
And it seems like he runs it day to day.
Mm-hmm.
There's also been a lot of accusations, which I think is so interesting, that they seem to really be struggling to get podcasts off the ground there. Their biggest talent, Alex left, other Alex left. We also have just personally noticed that a lot of their podcasts don't do very well. I think in that Business Insider article, they said the rest of them get less than 200,000 monthly listens.
I think they said 100.
It was low. It was low for somebody who has so many Instagram followers and is quote unquote so influential. We've heard other stories about people meeting with Matt Kaplan that add up to exactly what we've heard, which is he's very aggressive. He's very rude. He's a real old school boardroom bully type.
And he wields Alex Cooper like a weapon. He says, what my wife says will happen. If you want success, you have to do it through me because I'll get Alex Cooper to promote your shit.
And something about this article very specifically is that she's here, by the way. She's in the room when he's screaming at girls and making them cry.
Mm-hmm.
So she knows what he's like and she allows it to go on.
Right. And so at a certain point when Alex Cooper is public facing saying, this is a company by girls for girls, I do think that the note of this is a lot of girls' first jobs is so crucial because I think that there is a point where, first of all, you don't know what to expect of the workforce. You also, when you're working for someone who you have admired and is publicly admired, it's very hard to say something about it. There is a note in this article that since the Business Insider article came out, there have been more and more people coming forward about it because I bet you there are a lot of women who thought you just can't ever say anything. You'll be blackballed forever.
Well,
no one is ever allowed to say anything.
The author of the article, be careful, he'll come for you. Scrub the internet, make sure your shit's clean because he's very petty. He's very vindictive. The other thing that's so interesting about this is because Alex Cooper started out as a sex podcaster and built a career on being your friend or seeming like your friend, there's very blurred lines at the office itself. And one of the things is because they used to talk about sex, apparently Matt Kaplan is very oh, who'd you fuck this weekend? What'd you get up to? Asking questions that are inappropriate of a 40-year-old man to girls in their early 20s, a hand lingering too long. Women have felt very uncomfortable. And something that's really damning is that his lawyer actually sent a cease and desist to them. The same lawyer who represented Justin Baldoni, Tucker Carlson, Kevin Spacey, Chris Cuomo, sent a letter on behalf of Cooper, Kaplan, and Unwell, accused this magazine of assigning the story to a novice journalist, alleging that I have connections to Earl, a direct competitor of our clients in the podcasting and influencer spaces. The letter included a threat. If the story so much as suggests any sexual impropriety on Mr. Kaplan's part, I will make it my life's mission to ensure Vanity Fair's days are numbered.
To say that about Vanity Fair as a publication is so...
It's also so damning on their own.
If you're going to probably imply that he is a sexual predator.
Yeah, before I find out what you found out, just let it be known that if what you found out is that I assault people,
you're dead.
It's not true. Anything that anyone says to you about me being inappropriate sexually is not true. Don't look in the piggy bank. My drugs are not stored there. And if I find out you looked in the piggy bank, you're going to jail. Because there's nothing to be found. And you're a mean girl.
And if I find you holding drugs that aren't mine, you're arrested.
And there weren't any in the piggy bank. So whatever you find there is somebody else's. Anyway, so that's very damning. The other big thing is, as we said, the Burnouts left, which is the Phoebe Gates podcast, which I guess the problem is when your dad's Bill Gates, you have a lot of power, which is why it was so preposterous to me that Phoebe Gates would be giving you advice on how to manage your first couple years in a corporation. Because as this article points out, if you go up against Matt Kaplan, you will be hurt. Look what's happened to Alex Earl. There's bad blood there. Apparently, Phoebe Gates was able to leave no harm, no foul. She is looking for a new podcast network. And they've started a different corporate climbing career girly podcast in its wake. So obviously, like, they left because people were unhappy with each other, and yet no bad blood, which is why Phoebe Gates has no business telling anybody how to handle anything, because she's never suffered a true business consequence in her life.
Exactly.
Because there's nothing she could do that's worse than having Bill Gates on your side be good.
Yeah. Something I found harrowing in this article is that a couple of the employees that this writer talked to were at first afraid that this reporter was a plant sent to sniff out press leaks.
This is also a really interesting quote from Kelty Knight. They apparently were going to work on a dating show together, and she said she described the experience as weird and that it left her feeling like she was the one exploiting Cooper. I'm unclear what that means exactly. I'm unclear if Matt Kaplan was a part of the image. I'm unclear if that's supposed to suggest that Alex Cooper herself is like so naive in person that to work with her, you're like, am I taking advantage of you? Or if Matt Kaplan has set her up as somebody like, in order to shame other women who try to collaborate with her into getting worse deals, he's like bullying them into being like, you expect that much from Alex? Like, you're a monster.
The way it read to me is that they've set it up in such a way that, you know, they're this fledgling production company. Alex Cooper is this girl boss woman. She's trying to put other women on. But if you're going to try to demand this much money or this much of a percentage or this much whatever, like, you are preying on her business. Like, you don't want her business to succeed, essentially. Like, why would you do this to her? Asking for too much hurts everybody. Alex Cooper should have the most if women are going to succeed.
So the other guy who works there is this guy, TJ Marchetti. I don't know how to say it, the chief brand officer. It is so interesting that the CEO and the chief brand officer, CBO, are two men running this company of women. He's in his late 50s, and several former employees say they had negative experiences. Several described feeling uncomfortable with how flirty he was with the young female fans who came to Unwell events. Another still recalls Marchetti telling her to take down photos from the Unwell's Instagram account of young fans who, she recalls him saying, were not attractive enough. Oh my God. So if you were on the Instagram account for Unwell Network at a fan event and then suddenly you weren't,
sorry,
you're a 5.
Maybe even a 6.
Or worse.
Or a 4.
Maybe even a 2.
I was going to give you a 6.5.
You think he's saying 7s and ups only for the IG?
Without a doubt.
At the minimum.
At the minimum. I think that this article, I don't think it obviously adds any new information, but I do think it adds new context.
Obviously, they're not failing, but we know another woman who is working on doing a podcast with them for years. Like, every time we'd see her at events, and every 3 to 6 months,
they're still in the works.
They were like, yeah, in this next few months, we're hoping to figure out the name of the podcast. She'd be like, okay, this quarter, we're hoping to figure out what the podcast is. And they had paid her something crazy, like $100K for 3 YouTube shorts was the deal. And this was years ago. And we just saw she had launched a podcast with a different network. And I just think they're not running things efficiently over there. They're losing all their top talent. They cannot grow a podcast that's not Alex Cooper's. It is interesting, the lack of skill that the face of new female media and a veteran in the entertainment industry have not been able to like figure it out, really.
I'm really excited for Sophia Franklin's book, Daddy Issues. It's coming out this fall. And I do wonder if it's going to give more context to the building of Call Her Daddy, because I am curious about how she was able to skyrocket this one podcast and can't build anything else.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to sit here and be like, obviously Sophia was the secret sauce.
No.
I don't know. But I do think there's something missing that I
also do think it's a testament to Alex Cooper that this man is running her business and like a dick and kind of completely undermining her. And she still does not have the rep that Sophia had, which was the ironic part. That Sophia was hated for like killing the podcast because of her boyfriend.
And because of her greed.
Yeah, but Alex Cooper is a wonderful face of her own brand. And she's kind of a genius at it.
Right.
Because she was a money loser. Her deals lose money for the networks they're on. Mm-hmm. So I guess it's only a matter of time. Like, I wonder how long that can go on for before they're writing their own checks and not seeing the investment back. Like, how's that water she made doing?
I couldn't tell you.
Like, the last thing anybody in the market needed was water that says Unwell.
Yeah. Water is supposed to make you well.
The thing about being big is, like, there is too big to fail. Once you're in the machine, then I'm sure they pay for that whole contraption when she goes out and designs a Google ad.
It's like being an airplane. At this point, there's too much invested.
I don't know if I would say that. Airplanes seem like they're going down and doing badly.
in this Kelty Knight section, she says, I don't believe everyone has to be a girl's girl. I think that's a ridiculous, stupid thing to say. It's cutthroat out there. It's Hollywood. I think that is a really interesting point to be made about the Alex Cooper feminism of it all, because I do agree that not everyone has to be a girl's girl. And I think the term girl's girl has like gotten this odd, it just doesn't mean anything. It's the same thing as when Alex Cooper is like, we don't like mean girls. Like, what the fuck is a girl's girl? And I think that she like weaponizes this concept in business to be like, if you try to negotiate in any way, you're taking advantage of her and she's a businesswoman. Stop asking her to be a girl's girl. You're like diminishing her. But then if you ask for what you're worth, you're like diminishing her, and you can't just expect her to be a girl's girl.
Well, that's the problem with girl's girl as a phrase, is it's meaningless. And I always say there's like my mean girl loophole, which is my phrase for something that happens to women online, where once you call a woman a mean girl, you get to call her anything you want. So like I've seen people be like, she's a mean girl, and that's why she's a stupid slut who should probably be burnt alive. And you're like, okay, well, that doesn't sound like, what are you, a nice girl saying that? Yeah. Like there's this weird thing when once you label someone a mean girl, you label Alex Earl a mean girl, you get to then say, and that's why it's fucked up that she didn't give me 90% of the profit.
Right. And like that's what I mean by a mean girl, is anyone who's doing something that Alex Cooper doesn't want you to do.
Yeah.
She's a businesswoman, not a girl's girl. She's going to negotiate the way a business person negotiates. But if you don't want to work with her, you're not being a girl's girl. Like, are you going to go work for a company that's helmed by a man? And the irony is that her company is helmed by a man.
Mm-hmm. I also think there's like a tricky line when somebody is the face of a brand like that and you go to work for that brand. The brand is a business and the product is her personality and like the closeness you feel. I see this a lot with like influencer forward businesses of like, you go to work for the company. This is so funny. It's going to sound like I'm secretly calling us bitches. You can ask Audrey, our producer, if this is true. But like, I do think when a single person is the face of like an 8-figure company, a 9-figure company, you cannot expect to go and then be like, this is my platform to now become like the next Alex Earl.
Right.
Like there is a business behind it and the business is not the product.
Exactly.
You work at Coca-Cola, you're not just spending all day drinking Coca-Cola. You have to do a spreadsheet.
And again, not that I'm calling us bitches, but as my mom famously says, she sounds so flighty on mic, but when you talk to her about podcasting business, she actually knows what she's talking about.
Yeah, I haven't had that experience with you, but I'm still waiting for us to figure this shit out.
Anyway, let's talk about deed theft.
Okay, deed theft is something that I wanted to look into because I'd been hearing it a lot, and I like felt like an idiot because for a long time, I thought it was just like when people bought houses at a low price and then flipped them. I kind of thought it was like a metaphor of like that was a steal. I thought it was wrong then, and then I looked into it, and it's like
wronger than expected.
It is quite literally like illegal shit happening, and it's crazy to me that it's been going on this long unaddressed. And Zoran recently created like a small committee in New York to help prevent deed theft. There was a couple articles that came out, and Letitia James, who is our district attorney, wrote the bill. Deed theft is quite literally when people either forge or like steal the documents and claim to own a home that was not theirs at all. Mostly the people that are targeted are older people who are easy to trick, older people who like don't know what's going on necessarily, people who are currently struggling financially, so maybe they have a utility bill lien out against them, or maybe they're looking to get a loan. Whatever happens, they're older, they don't have access, they don't know how to use the internet in a way to parse information. And then also a big group that is attacked is people who are inheriting property. So it's like parents die, they leave their house to 3 kids. Now there's a lot of paperwork that has to be done. And I can see how it's very tricky. How do 3 people split a home for one? Not everybody wants to live there. Like, what do we do? How do we handle it? So what people will go in is quite literally like forge a signature on the paperwork of the deed, file it with the city hall that claims that they own it and like that the deed has been given to them. And then something that'll happen is like, you know, some guy comes over and he goes, oh, I'm here to like help organize the finances so that all the inheritors inherit it properly. Somebody who's older is easy to manipulate, signs a signature. Years later, they die. It turns out that family hasn't even owned that house for 5 years. Or they will out and out forge the signature, file it. Again, by the time it's been filed and by the time it's been discovered, people don't know how to like undo it all. A lot of times people will go in and kind of be giving out fake loans, be giving out fake mortgages. They'll come in as lawyers claiming I'm going to help you get out of the the debt, or they're going to come in and say, I'm here to collect the debt. There's like a $2,000 lien on your house because of a utility bill. You don't own it anymore. You have to sign this off to admit that like you want to pay it off. That thing you signed is actually
and then
the deed to your own home.
One of the more complicated situations is then those people sell the house pretty quickly. Now a new person has like fairly paid for a home that was sold to them by someone who didn't own it. And now you have like two people who've been royally fucked over because one group has like bought a house that they thought they were fairly buying.
It's very like what happens when you buy a stolen bike.
Right.
In the last 10 years, there's been like 3,500 instances of deed theft.
Wow.
That have been brought to the city.
That's so many. And that's just the ones that are brought to the city.
Yeah, I feel like do you know what I mean? It's one of those things where it is and it is. You know what I mean?
I feel like 3,500 stolen houses.
It's more than, yeah. But specifically, in the last year, over 500 were brought to the city, which is more than like 2 years ago. It was like 145.
Okay.
So I think right now, as the value of homes in like the outer boroughs are going up and like the gentrification is spreading, they are being attacked. Also, as you said, that's what's being brought to the city. Who knows how many families that got tricked because they were specifically exploited because they don't have like the financial literacy to have known in advance, then didn't know what to do. Like the problem is a lot of people don't know what do you do when you find out you don't own a house? And also the person who did own the house died and also is being split between 6 cousins who live all over the like it is such a tricky situation where I think people genuinely don't know what to do. And then the problem is sometimes these thievers get to be like, oh, I didn't steal it. That guy just made a bad business decision. Like that guy owed $2,500 rather than take out the loans and like get his credit score checked. He sold it to me for $19.
Also, these are people who are now being fucked over by bureaucracy. So the chances of them turning to bureaucracy to try to solve it are very low.
Yeah. And you know, these thieves, like you meet someone older, you gain their trust. You claim you're doing their grocery shopping. Actually, you're stealing their house and now they've died. And it's like, as you said, now you sell it. I'm sure their grandson in Florida is like, what the fuck am I supposed to do? It's a lot of work.
Yeah.
It seems like I'm fucked. And I don't know. So it's a very tricky, shitty situation. But Zoran has created a small group that is going to start helping people, trying to spread the word, try to help with financial literacy to prevent it, trying to like find people who are like exploitable and get them the information they need. Try to create help and hotlines so that if it does happen to you, you know who to call. They can get you the lawyers. They can get you the support needed. Try to figure out ways to get people the resources they need before it gets to a point where they are like backed into a corner and easy to trick. I had a friend actually who was scammed. Someone called and pretended to be the IRS and she was in the process of getting her citizenship. They knew that about her and they were able to be like, your citizenship will be denied if you don't fix this right now. They preyed on obviously like a vulnerable fear of hers and like a very valid fear of hers. Were able to steal the money before she was able to find out that it was just like they had found her info and were able to trick her and it wasn't the IRS at all. So stuff like that, like say you apply for a loan, the person that you applied to sold your information and now you're on a list of somebody and these thieves like know you're in a vulnerable financial position so they can come in with like a fake situation. They know who to go after. Anyway, something that I thought was very interesting, the New York Times article that I read about this, Letitia James, who is the Attorney General of New York, she wrote this bill and got this group together and he like enacted it. Something that I thought was really interesting, the New York Times article about this, because a lot of this was triggered recently in Bed-Stuy. There was a woman who was like protesting the deed theft happening. It was a situation of like there was multiple heirs and the article didn't really get into what exactly happened, but I think it brought a lot of visibility because Chiose was arrested for helping the protesters. He was like one of the protesters and the police arrested him, like taking him off this other woman's property. That got this group passed by Zoran. And something interesting was the New York Times was like, he's at a place where he's trying to like raise his profile and likability amongst Brooklyn homeowners. And like, that felt very cynical to me.
Yeah, I guess I feel this feels incredibly in line with his politics to try to make sure that longtime homeowners in Brooklyn aren't being ejected and stolen from.
Because I get that like the idea of owning property in New York City is such like a privileged thing to have, but I'm like the people being stolen from are not like the rich and powerful. It is like people who have built communities and deserve to like pass on the generational wealth to the next generations in these neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So there felt something very like, I was like, ugh, you guys hate his ass, huh? The New York Times really...
I think they feel so stupid about him.
Yeah, as they should.
They were so wrong.
his TikToks were much more influential than their op-ed section, which is like an embarrassing thing to admit as a paper of note.
Dude, the way The Atlantic is chasing the New York Times in most sinister psycho op-ed section is so shocking to me.
A true race to the bottom that gets Ashley every time.
It really does.
I will say, if you are a newspaper writing an insane op-ed to enrage your readers, you got her
at
ass.
me. Do you know what The Atlantic wrote the other day? They have this new young psycho. He just graduated. I looked him up. He wrote a piece about how the negative impact of data centers is way overblown.
Mm-hmm. Well, he would know. He's 19.
I feel like going in and saying, it's not going to wipe out an entire ecosystem. It's going to wipe out half an entire ecosystem. You guys are being so overblown is like not comfort. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. Maybe
great. Can I say, if any of these people meant it, they should go buy the homes that have been left valueless because of recent data centers that have poisoned the water, poisoned the night sky, and are doing like sound pollution that's so bad it's driving people to psychosis. Everybody who has written an op-ed or like every politician who's pro-data, like they should all have to go personally buy these homes that talk about wiping out generational wealth. People that are like middle-class Americans that have bought a house, did everything they were told they were supposed to so that they could pass down a nest egg to their children. Go buy these homes that have been made worthless.
Yeah, I mean,
Go drink the sludge water.
His point is you're way overblowing it. They are not worthless. They're worth $30.
Can I tell you, like everyone who's acting like the water thing is such bullshit. First of all, we can already see where these data centers have gone in, what has happened to the water. These like closed water systems are not true. But I have a friend who just met a bunch of people and they all are data center engineers. And she was like, oh no, we know that it's sopping up all the water from wherever they're built. And when we're in engineering conversations with our bosses, the question is not like, if, it's when, and it's not even a question of like when it happens, is that bad? It's when it happens, how do we power these things next? Like they're interested in building technology to accommodate the fact that we are going in and stealing all of the natural resources of every land that will be built on. And it's not even like, there's no ethical question. It's just like, oh fuck, well, how do we make money after there's no water left? I guess we'll have to figure out a way to run these things when there's a waterless planet. So like that's what they're saying in the board meetings. So these like little paid off op-eds because they found one mistake in a chapter in a book. Like there are already people living with the consequences and it's killing them. And it's like so crazy. Oh, Josh Shapiro's in for it.
Oh, Josh Shapiro. It's so crazy. It's so stupid. And I want to talk about instead a true natural resource, and that is EmRata's beauty. This is advertiser content from Cotton,
the fabric of our lives. Ashley, in the last 3 weeks, I have been to Vienna. I've hosted 7 boys from Canada, and I short a shot film. I'm exhausted. What am I going to do when my schedule ramps up?
Claire, you have got to relax and recharge. Summer is longer days. If you're not ready, it's going to pass you by.
But what do I do? How do I get rejuvenated, recharged, restored?
You've got a spa day. You've got to do an at-home spa day. And do you know what's going to make your at-home spa day 1 billion times % more relaxing?
I haven't relaxed in my life. Tell me, please.
It's Cotton.
Really?
Yeah, picture this, okay? You come home. It's been a long week. You've been around the world and back, okay? You hop in your shower. You scrub. You do like one of those full-body scrubs that takes a layer off. You're 1 centimeter smaller down to the studs. And then you get out of the shower. You slather on your most savory sweet lotion.
Savory.
Yeah, your most savory. If you
like
taste
a barbecue sauce of a lotion.
And from there, you put on just like the most luscious cotton robe.
Really?
Yeah, it's going to help it just soak right into your skin. Plus the softness on your skin, it's going to feel like a second spa day.
Oh my gosh. And I guess if I wear it all night and sleep in all cotton pajamas, I'll probably wake up supple as heck.
Yeah, I think you're going to be the supplest girl in town.
This summer, I'm going to be relaxed and supple. All thanks to Cotton.
Okay, so Emily Ratajkowski is back in the essay writing game. Famously, I didn't love her first whack at it.
I know you weren't a fan of the first one. I completely concede your points that you didn't like about her first round of essays in my body. But I do feel like it's important to note that, like, I think it's worth discussing.
Yes, me too.
Which, do you know what I mean? There are books that I feel like you're allowed to dislike, but I feel like you have to dislike with a point, and not that she is not the typical celebrity memoirs we read and that they were like pointless and stupid. Like she is.
I agree with that.
A smart person writing, and I think she has a POV, and I think a lot of your problems with her perspective are valid in that. I'd say the big thesis of My Body is I had a really hard time because all men wanted me for was my body. And so then I thought I was like using my body against them and using my body to get rich and like making a point. But then it turned out that if a man is paying you for your body, he still has the power at the end of the day, and it didn't earn me any of the respect I thought it would. She has since done ads for like the UAE.
Yeah.
She tried to use her body to sell a bikini line. That didn't really work. And do you want to say what your criticisms of it were? Because I think they were quite valid.
One of my main criticisms is that it's very like, you seem pretty sad for a girl so hot. Like, I think she thinks depth is explaining hardship or like sadness, whereas I don't think that that's necessarily true. I also think, like, would you give up being hot then? It feels the answer is no.
And I think some of your points were basically that she has this idea that her experience of being a hot woman is like so different than the experience of being a woman in general, as if less attractive women and even unattractive women aren't assaulted, aren't used for their body, aren't like made to feel like shit. You know what I mean? Like every woman in a body is inherently vulnerable. And the thing that she doesn't seem to learn that I think a lot of people learn when they stop getting catcalled at 25 the way they were at 13 is, oh, it wasn't a hotness thing. It was a
woman thing.
Or not even, I was going to say like a controllability thing. Like, do you know what I mean? Like how many men have stopped catcalling you as you've gotten older, even if you look better?
Mm-hmm.
It's not because you were so sexy at 13 that the men just couldn't help themselves. It was because you were so much more rapeable at 13.
Oh, God.
But it's true.
Yeah, it's true.
Do you know what I mean? They know better than to catcall a woman at 30, you know, even if she looks hot or is attractive because of like the power that she has in herself. And I think the truth is it's, you know what I mean? I say it in my stand-up special, like they don't think you're not hotter because you're younger. You're just like dumber and more, you say it's because you're more trickable. Like, she doesn't know that a lot of the things that she says are unique to her because she's hot are actually universal because they're of women. And the other point that I think you made that I think was very astute is she has this whole essay collection about the lessons she learned in her 20s about saying, well, if you only want me because of my body, then I'm going to own my body. And it's like owning the means of capital or whatever. And didn't I flip the script? And then the big reveal is, of course, actually she didn't flip the script. And then I think as Ashley said, okay, so what have you learned going forward? And how are your actions different now that you've learned that lesson? It's hard to look at her Instagram. It's hard to look at her life and think that she has meaningfully made changes to how she wields her sexuality and her body and uses it financially in a way that's like a learned, more empowered take.
This essay made me feel almost sad for how little she's moved forward and for how like deep inside the male perspective she is trapped.
Before we like get into this essay, because I feel like I know people come to us for our takedowns, we're not like taking down the essay. I actually think it's an incredibly effective essay. In the As Told to Lena Dunham, Bruce Springsteen quote says, your memoir is not supposed to tell the truth of your life. It's supposed to help people understand how you think.
Yeah. And the way she thinks is like devastating.
Yeah. And I think,
and I don't mean that to be
sad
mean.
For some, like I do want to make a difference. And like, this is a critique, not saying it's a bad essay.
And something that made me so devastated is the way that I think a lot of her social media persona since her divorce has been like, the girls are getting sexy and going out. Like, I'm hanging out with the girls. She's with like Z-Way, a handful of other women. But I'm genuinely curious about the conversations they have because I do feel that this essay is written from the perspective of a woman who like does not value female perspectives or like they just don't penetrate.
A bit Amanda Core.
Yes. Yeah. This essay opens up with her talking about her first dates post-divorce and how terrifying it was for her to go out there as a single mother. She hadn't dated much. She hadn't had sex with very many men. And when she...
And that was something she valued in herself. It was part of her lifelong strategy of finding self-worth or of being valuable on earth, which of course then translates to men because this is a man's world. And she was like, if I'm a good girl and I'm not a slut and I only have sex with my boyfriends, then they're going to take care of me and they're going to value me. And then I get to know I'm a good person. And so when she went through a divorce because her husband was publicly cheating on her and horrible and racist and
he's a really bad person,
just an all around bad guy, she was like, well, how do I know that I'm valuable now? And she said, okay, I'm going to 180 it. Instead of not having sex with anybody, I'm going to try to have sex with everybody and not care. And I think she even says like, give them a real taste of their own medicine, which of course, as any 19-year-old girl can tell you, does not work. That revenge thing where you go and fuck them and leave and don't even call them the next day, not great revenge. And I hate to be so gender essentialist here.
Yeah.
But it's a bad way to get revenge on a guy is to go give him head and leave and then be like, and I don't even want to get breakfast. It's just not as effective as the other way around.
I wanted his attention. I wanted to feel a man's desire and to be reminded that I was a sexual being, not just a mother of a toddler.
So this I understand.
Yes.
Can I
of
say,
course.
I totally understand coming out of a divorce and being like, I need to like revive this part of myself that has been made to feel like I could totally see you have a husband, you have a kid, the husband that's supposed to love you stops having sex with you, and now you don't feel sex anymore. And like, there's this like bubble of your private home self, but you're like, I need this other part of me to exist in a separate mode. Let's go wake that baby up, not the baby.
But then she talks about existing in the world as a single woman. And this is something that, like, this to me was the first line where I was like, oh, do you really have female friends? Because I hear how this has been a perspective, especially in patriarchal environments. But I feel like as a single, independently wealthy, sexy, famous person in New York City, she says, I couldn't stand my pathetic reflection in their eyes. They saw me as someone who was unwanted, who had been left, a reject with the burden of a needy, hungry, 2-foot-tall sidekick. To this, I say, I hear how like the encompassing concept of society has been taught these beliefs, but I don't know any people, especially in our circles of like progressive New York City women who see a single mother and think like pathetic, disgusting loser left. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like all of the women.
Also, her specifically. She still was so the paragon of hotness, as continued by her with her Instagram. It's funny because she's sitting here being like, everybody thought I was so pathetic and unwanted. Meanwhile, I know she's also getting backlash. Remember that photo she put up of herself at like the Met Gala where she had like vacuum sealed abs?
Yes.
That were like, she had a very intense ab line down the middle. She like invented that thing. And she got a lot of grief for it because it was like,
people were saying it was so unrealistic.
Yeah, it was so unrealistic. She's like, I can't help that this is my body. And then, of course, if you look at the other Getty images from that night, it's like, well, you picked the most accentuated one, the most intense guy. And also, like, you know what you were fucking doing. You were, like, making a point to be like, look how much skinnier I am than you, even after I gave birth. And it's like, I know that that's how insecurity works, is that you, like, come off both, like, pathetic and cocky at the same time. But there is something very funny about being like, I thought nobody even would want me, as thousands of commenters said, you're too sexy and too skinny and too hot, and it's not nice to other women. The funny thing to me is this idea of, like, people thinking she was left and unwanted. Did anybody think that about her? I feel like I remember going, what a dummy. That's why you don't marry a guy after 3 weeks.
Right.
She had that like whirlwind relationship where she married this guy out of the blue at a courthouse. And I remember going, that's not a good idea. You should date longer.
Well, ultimately, what we know about that relationship is he didn't treat her like this super sexy, desirable model. And I think that as a woman who'd been courted by so many men for so much of her life, she was like, I like that he's different. What's different about him is that he doesn't even like me. And ultimately, what was bad about that relationship is that he didn't like her. And that is obviously, again, her insecurity ruining her life. And I feel bad about that. But I also want to say, like, who do you talk to, though? You know what I mean? Like, that's my biggest takeaway from this essay.
Who was at that wedding besides the fat Jewish?
Yeah, that's a good question.
He can't be your confidant.
You know, I feel like she's always, again, since her divorce, posting all these, like, girl group images. Like, she's always like hanging out with her girls. And
blooding it, yeah.
And I want to say, like, but what do you talk about? Because I feel like there are so many lines of thinking present in this essay that I feel like, to me, come from a 14-year-old girl who, like, is trying to do something sexy for, like, boys. We've always talked about this, like, the things that young girls do because they're like, well, I hear boys find this sexy. And you're not even talking to boys. You're not talking to other girls. Like, you're not talking to anybody. You're just like, a book told me to do this. A book that was written by, like,
Cosmo said, tweak his nipples and put an ice cube in your mouth.
Literally.
How to handle his member.
She read a Cosmo article on how to handle his member in 1996 and, like, has not consumed information since.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen people be mad at this line. Her son, like, ripped the muscle between her ass and her vagina in the process. 6 months after my son was born, my husband and I stopped having sex. Less than a year later, we separated. I've seen people be mad about this, like, being like, if that was true, how did you heal? Like, the healing time. I feel this falls under your memoir is not meant to be true, is meant to show us how you think. I will give her the benefit of the doubt if, like, HIPAA. The medical stuff doesn't come. It felt like it tore. Eventually it healed enough to have sex. They stopped having sex anyway.
If she wants to come in here and say childbirth was physically traumatic for her, I'm not going to say, mm-mm.
Yeah, or even just different. I don't even know that she would say, like, she's just like, yeah, it hurt a lot. It hurt a lot in a very special area where normally you're having sex down there. I give it to her. As someone who hasn't given birth, I give it to her. If it makes you mad, as is your right.
Something I find so interesting is she's talking about this guy that she's dating who she doesn't even think is that hot. She just like lowered the bar because she wanted to fuck. And she's like, his ex is also this beautiful girl. And she writes, I sensed that he had never considered why so many women were available to him. All he knew was that after he was done fucking one woman, another different yet equally intriguing one would appear just behind her. And I think it's so interesting that like she's able to point out and acknowledge these certain levels of like male entitlement within her circles now. I feel like she's a lot better at like acknowledging and noticing it. But like she still doesn't understand her own role as the woman who lines up to fuck this subpar man. She's like getting better at like the psyche of men because that's what she's been studying. She doesn't actually care about the psyche of women. I feel like she accepts like, well, men think this way, so women should behave this way. She's not like, oh, I don't want to live in a world where men get rewarded for these like absolute mediocre bullshit lives, you know?
So another line that I think people had a hard time with, even as a kid, I reasoned that of all the things I could grow up to be, it was crucial to avoid being a single mom. The term itself could be lodged as an insult. Having a child with the wrong man was the fastest way to ruin your life as a woman. It meant having no freedom, no choices, no emergency exit, all baggage, and no security. Okay, I've seen a lot of people get mad at this and be like, I actually know a lot of women who are single moms and they're all badasses. And it's like, yes, of course. And that's like the reason it's a brave thing to do is because it's the hard thing to do. If the easier thing was to like leave the man who you had a child with or to be left by the man you had a child with, then it wouldn't be so brave. It would be the easier thing.
Right.
And like, I get that ultimately sometimes it literally is easier actually to be a single mother than to be in a bad partnership. But I think that transition of leaving, which ultimately is what this essay is about, that like going through with the transition of divorce, especially when you have a young child, is so difficult. And it's difficult because it's scary, and it's difficult because society is hard on it. It is literally harder to not split the bills with somebody, to not have a partner who is equally invested or like biologically invested. Like it is a hard thing to be. And I think I've seen a lot of people, and of course, like I don't want to, if you are a single mom who is hurt by this, I like completely respect that. But I do understand that she like, I get how from the side of being married with a child, it'd be scary to become someone who is divorced with a child.
Yeah, that being said, the thing I am I understand the upset that she didn't acknowledge is that this idea of like no freedom, no choices, no emergency exit, all baggage, no security. She in fact does have,
yes, of course,
enormous security. And I think that her like not acknowledging, that's like the problem is I understand all of these like societal fears about being a single mom, being a divorced woman, being all these things.
It's like the Bell Burden question of how do you like rightfully acknowledge your privilege but still have those feelings, and the feelings are universal even if the consequences are not.
Right.
And does she do enough?
And I feel no.
Yeah.
Because I think that this article does paint her into this place of being either pathetic or like a sexy Catwoman. And not all women have the opportunity to be the sexiest woman in the world.
I mean, she talks later about her like sex. Like she's having sex with this guy that she doesn't even like, and the sex isn't even good, and she doesn't even think he's hot. And it's like, why are they're together for a couple months, like way longer than it should be. And she talks about how she doesn't do official sleepovers. So like she'll leave before her son wakes up at 6 a.m. and like relieve the babysitter. And I did have this thought of like, well, who's watching the kid if you're getting home by 6 a.m.? And she says she'll relieve the babysitter. I'm like, okay, what's a babysitter go for these days? $30, $40 an hour? So you're
More,
spending $200 to $300 a night to fuck a guy you don't even like, that doesn't even make you come. A lot of women do not have the luxury.
Yeah.
Most women. That's expensive.
It's very expensive. It's very
especially
expensive.
A toddler. I get how when they're older, they could have sleepovers or something, but like
reclaiming your sexuality is expensive.
Yeah. I mean, that's the truth of having a baby. Like every single time you're alone, like all of your alone time is quite literally like an opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so every time you're investing in yourself is expensive. So to be like, I'm going to be fucking random dudes and see how it goes, that's like a really expensive thing that like most single moms can't do.
She talks again about how before her separation, she'd never had a one-night stand. She'd only had boyfriends. She'd lived with several of them, which I think is her proving how serious she thought those boyfriends were. I knew that boys didn't treat girls they thought of as sluts tenderly. Boys didn't fall in love with, want forever with, raise babies with, or take care of sluts. I wanted to be taken care of desperately. I tried to be a good girl. Keeping my body count low was insurance. I thought that it meant no one would ever cheat on me, that I'd always be happy, loved, and safe. And to your point earlier, then you married a guy that you like barely knew who was like a renowned drug dealer who like was mean to you.
I'm still so interested, and I know I've read my body and maybe it's in there, but I am like, what happened that you seem more than the average person to be like desperate for male validation? Is it just that like, is that what happens when your entire life and job and everything becomes male validation, that like it becomes so outsized and you never heal from it? I mean, it's one thing to make that mistake in your early 20s. I feel like she got married in her kind of like mid 20s, and then to be here on the other side of motherhood in your 30s and like still, I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems extreme.
Yeah, it does seem extreme.
Especially for someone who has been picked, you know? I mean, she's a New York Times bestseller. She had like one of the best-selling books of the last 20 years. I can't believe nothing gave her like a second boost of
validation.
Yeah.
I guess like when I was saying snarkily about how she'd only had sex with 8 people and she thought she was going to marry all of them, blah, blah, blah. Like to me, it does feel a bit ridiculous because then she just like married a guy who she had just started dating. Do you know what I mean? Like, I guess it feels very like, I don't know, you're still here reciting this as if it meant something.
I guess, but I do think that's like literally the point of her article is that like
none of it meant anything.
Like here she is being a slutty single mom after she had done everything in her 20s to try to be the good girl.
Yeah.
So I guess like that's why I'm like, she agrees with you. Look at how hard she tried and it was fruitless.
She's acknowledging that it was fruitless, not that it was like, of course going to be fruitless because this is like a no-winning game that she's playing. Like she's playing a game that she invented that like exists only through the eyes of the patriarchy. So she creates this character for her like post-divorce persona to go on dates. This character I learned to embody after my divorce in my period of compulsive dating was a villain. Poison ivy, Catwoman, sexual but scary, and she drank gin martinis. Many gin martinis.
I find it very interesting that she wants to be like a praying mantis. I'd found everything I'd come there for, a praying mantis devouring her mate. So she really wants to turn the tables on these men by just giving them head and then not giving a fuck.
Yeah, they're all going to learn their lesson.
It's a mean thing to do to these guys.
One of the most beautiful women in the world wants to suck your dick and not really talk to you anymore after that.
It's the punishment. So this guy falls in love with her, but she doesn't love him at all. She goes on these dates. One of these dates is a guy that I know for a fact I've gone on a date with. I'm like sure of it.
That's so funny.
I think she changed one key characteristic, but I'm like 98% sure that I went on a date with this guy too.
So something I find really interesting is that I feel like she still dates these men, but I think she has like a pretty astute analysis on these men. She says, I sensed that he had never considered why so many women were available to him. All he knew was that after he was done fucking one woman, another different yet equally intriguing one would appear just behind her. And she's talking about like how ain't shit this guy is. Like he's boring. His job is stupid. He's washed.
Well, it's not even stupid. She's like, he stalled in his career, so he left LA.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
But she's still fucking him. Like, yeah. She's saying he's not even wondering why women are lining up to fuck him.
Well, why would he have to wonder? You don't fix what ain't broke.
Yeah, and I think that's so interesting is that she never wonders, like, why am I still doing it? If I think this guy's so pathetic and I think it's so crazy that he has, like, an endless sea of beautiful women to pick from, why be one of the fish in the sea? He'd tell me he thought I was a good mother, single mom's man. Y'all are amazing. Women are amazing. Later, he'd call me a whore in order to come.
In these days of dating post-separation, I learned 2 things. The first was that many men are turned on by motherhood. At a party just a month after my separation, a sister to several famous single moms consoled me immediately with, men don't care, by the way, about like the you having a kid thing. First of all, that's definitely Kendall Jenner, right?
I think so.
I exhaled. At the time, her comment felt monumental, like she was addressing the exact thing that no one wanted to say, but I'd been so scared of, that as a single mother, I was unlovable, used up, and discarded. I don't know. It's a tricky thing to say because it's a mean thing to think about what so many women are single mothers. And of course, they're not unlovable and discarded. Of course, they're all like worthy of love and many go on to find much better relationships. And you don't leave a relationship that was great. So like they're in a better situation. But I also do understand that fear of like dating as a young mother. But also, as someone pointed out, they're like, I don't know, were they turned on by single motherhood or were they turned on by you, Emily Ratajkowski, one of the hottest women in the world?
Yeah.
And I do feel like if it's the latter, what does that mean about the rest of the women who haven't learned your point? Like if you're like, I don't know, people still fuck me and Kim Kardashian. It's hard to then like it's what makes this essay like less than universal.
Yeah. And I feel that she kind of repeatedly has this framing where she is able to see like a women's issue once she's experienced it. And there are a lot of things that she thought she would never have to experience because she's one of the more ideal looking women.
And not just that, but she's not just a beautiful woman on your street. She is socially considered. She is like with the status of one of the more beautiful women in a way that like has a commercial and social value. You know what I mean? Like you say, oh, I'm dating EmRata in most of the rooms in the world and people go, oh, good for you.
Yeah.
There is like a true, honest value to it.
I keep coming back to the question of like, who were her friends before? Like, who is she ever talking to? If she's constantly sitting here being like, I thought being a single mother was like one of the more pathetic things you could be. I thought getting divorced was disgusting, because it also doesn't feel like it aligns with her actions in any way. Like, she did marry someone who she didn't know very well. They'd been dating for a couple months, I think, when they got married. He was a renowned drug dealer in Lower Manhattan.
That she didn't really take the time to get to know at all.
Right. And so I think that if you're sitting here saying like, I didn't want this to be my reality, like I didn't want to be someone who wasn't like adored and appreciated. First of all,
if your biggest fear was being a single mom, then maybe you should have put a little more effort into picking your baby daddy.
Yeah.
I'm not like trying to victim blame. I just am like, if that's your biggest fear in the world.
If you just say, like Lindsay Hubbard style, my biggest fear is not being a mother, then have a baby with whoever. If your biggest fear is being a single mother, then I actually think discernment is part of that system.
And I do think, unfortunately, the man she married quickly and like defended, he has come out as such a bad guy between the situation with the Safdie brothers, that he was like procuring underage girls on the internet and kind of like not coercing them into having sex, but like manipulating them into having sex.
He says a lot of racial slurs.
He says he's very racist. He's like cheating on her. It's a good question of like, I don't know, how much is the personal is political? Like, do you get to be known as this feminist writer who has these like left-leaning causes when at home you have such a male-centric perspective of the world and permit the white men in your life to like behave however?
Yeah. And I think also it begs the question of what do you actually want for yourself? Because she has these like two dueling ideologies, which are like, be whatever the patriarchy wants me to be. And also this like, I guess they're not dueling. They're like perfectly in line. I would say she's most ruled by being whatever the patriarchy wants her to be, and also being cripplingly insecure, which is like,
well, I guess I would say her driving force is individual success under the patriarchy.
Yeah.
And in that way, like we see her try the different approaches. Like being the sexiest good girl in the world did not work.
Mm-hmm.
Being, as we learned through this essay, a slut didn't work. So she gets to a point where she's talking about all these guys she's dating. She's dating this awful elder millennial who kind of seems like a loser, but she keeps dating him because after 3 weeks he says, I love you. And he's falling in love with her. And she likes the power of not texting him back, not really needing him. She's dating a lot of losers, so who cares?
And then she's in this meeting with her divorce lawyer who tells her that leaving is a powerful choice. She didn't get left. She chose to leave a toxic situation. And that is really incredible of her.
I knew then that being able to leave, to say no, was the only real superpower I'd gained through the divorce. I was brave, really actually brave.
And it is unfortunately fucking annoying to me that a man delivered this information to her, because who are the women she knows? Like, who is she talking to in her day-to-day life? She either doesn't have female friends, because I do think that this is a pretty common refrain among New York City women, I feel. Like, I am from the Midwest. I do feel that there, when you go through a breakup, there is a lot more, but who will you date next? Having a boyfriend is the most important thing. Like, I don't think everyone in the Midwest feels that way. I'm just saying I definitely feel a difference between like the circles of people I know in different locations, because there are different expectations of women.
I mean, it's so funny. I remember even having lunch like the last time you were dating a guy, and they were like, well, I hope you're able to make it work. And I'm like, why would she make it work?
Yeah.
And it sucks.
I remember when I broke up with him, I was at a bridal shower pretty shortly after that. And I was like telling this friend of mine that we broke up, and she was like, oh, but like maybe you guys will come back together. And I was like, no, I really don't want to. He was like pretty mean to me. And she was like, oh, but people change and this and that. And I was like, stop encouraging me. Like, and there is a world where people feel this way. I'm very shocked that it's in like EmRata's art model circles in New York City. And I wonder if it is because
what do the women who were divorced before her think reading this essay? Like, oh, until you learned it yourself, you thought I was like a pathetic loser.
Yeah. And I think, just like from Instagram, obviously real life isn't Instagram, but like I can see divorced women that she hangs out with and she's been hanging out with for a long time. So I'm like, what did they say to you when you went through your divorce? Did they say, oh, it's the biggest regret of my life, I should have stayed with that abusive person? Like, that racist was your best bet? I'm wondering like why no one has said to her before this divorce lawyer that leaving is brave and good.
Your best bet is never a man who's all one color top to bottom.
He's extremely monochrome.
God paints with many colors.
And him and Spencer Pratt were the end of the inkjet.
It's never a good sign.
But you know what I mean? Like it is, I feel hard to read this essay where she like, all the boys in her childhood told her like being pure was ideal. So she tried to stay pure to find a husband. Then she gets divorced and she's told like being a slut is the only way to claim your power. So she tries being a slut. Then a man tells her like being brave is good. So she is trying to be brave. Like, I guess it feels very like, I don't know, throughout 30 plus years of life, the only thing you've learned is that like different men think different things. And like, who should you try to fit yourself to?
Yeah. I mean, the essay does end heartbreaking. And that's why like I want to give her more credit than that, just because I don't think this is an essay about overcoming anything. And I think this is an essay wherein even though she hasn't figured out how to change her internal values, which is like not a thing you can do intellectually.
Right.
It's not a thing that like you can, I mean, some people can, but like, you know what I mean? In these moments of emotional upheaval, it's hard to act as you would write out on paper the strongest woman thing to do would be, whatever. And this essay does end really sad. So like she's ready to break up with this guy. She tells her friends about the dirty talk and how she hasn't liked it. And they really like motivate her to go over with a mantra and be like, just tell him you don't like it. Tell him you don't. So she shows up. She tells him he doesn't like it. He gives a real like textbook answer of like, oh, well, if it's not fun for both of us, of course I don't want to do something that you're not enjoying. Like sex is meant blah, blah, blah. They then end up having sex and she ends the essay. Mid-thrust, I felt the sting of a slap, a hard one, harder than any he'd delivered before. And with the hiss of his words, I didn't ask for your feedback, bitch. I almost started to cry. I was there for power, but I'd forgotten. Animal brain, I thought, waiting for him to come. I mean, this is a really sad ending that ends with her almost being like essentially assaulted. If you tell somebody this is not what I want and then they hit you and call you a bitch. Like,
no, it's really hard
like,
to
you know,
read.
she's sitting here recognizing that just like with my body, once again, her attempt to reclaim her sexuality in a way that she thinks puts her on the upper hand with men has failed. And she is again at their disposal. And I think that in many ways, this is like a great essay that depicts like there is no way as an individual, I feel, to behave in a way that's like systematic gonna beat the other sex. You know what I mean? Like, how do you be a heterosexual sexual woman in a world with the patriarchy? And I think at the end of the day, it's tough because she, like we were saying off mic, Ashley was like, you know, she's frustrated that she is trying to play this game of how do you win living in the patriarchy. And it's like the way she's playing it, she keeps switching strategies, but of course she's still playing the game to like be good for men, be the good woman for a man. But there is no way that you can be like a woman worthy of being loved, because they're like women in our society don't really get loved ultimately in the worst cases. And like all you can hope to be is someone who like kind of gets lucky as an individual and meets another individual and then like proceeds with respect and kindness. But there is no way to be the type of woman who does anything that's good, because there is no winning as a woman generally. There is no strategy that'll keep you safe.
Yes. And that is what I feel so sad about, though. And that's what makes me sad about this essay is it feels like there are no like
she hasn't learned that yet. She doesn't know that all she can be is herself and hope through both like luck and discernment that she can meet a partner, because people do want to have sex, women included.
And that's like something that's so hard, obviously, is like men as a whole, I would say, are mean to women as a whole. And I don't think all men are mean to women.
And not every man is mean to every woman.
Exactly. But I think that when you are approaching the situation as a character because you think it's your best bet at like capturing a man, like ultimately, first of all, you're Emily Ratajkowski. Like the idea that you have to show up in any specific way in order to achieve what you want to achieve feels like ridiculous to me.
Can I also tell you like what, like, you know who I know it's not going to be?
Who?
A French director that looks like Dan Bilzerian.
Yeah.
He is not. Please, please, please know that that's not the answer to anybody's heartbreak. He will be good to his nurse on his deathbed, but no other woman will he have a solid long-term relationship with. No French director has ever been good to a woman. Definitely not that guy with a beard.
But ultimately, the thing that makes me so sad about this essay is like there is this version of her that believes that, like you said, if she plays a game right, then like you win a prize, which is like a man valuing you until your old age. But like ultimately, if you're playing it as a game, there is no long-term prize.
Like I think she genuinely would like that. You know what I mean? Even if you're not playing it as a game, I think if you have a belief that there is, and this is exactly what I said when Emily Ratajkowski got cheated on, and people were like, oh no, if she's getting cheated on, then what hope is there for all of us uggos? And compared to her, most of us are. But the thing is, there is no such thing as a woman who's better than being cheated on.
Right.
There's only a relationship with respect, and that's like to a person.
Right. But that's what I'm saying is she's not showing up that way. Like she doesn't believe that yet. And it like is something that you have to learn over time. And I think through conversations with women and I think that she doesn't process information from women as like true.
I also do think she is in a unique position. And I've always said this, that I'm like, I think it's harder for her than for a less hot person.
Mm-hmm.
I do think because she is such a prize in society that the men who go after her and even the men who get her get so much credit from it that it does like change the power dynamic in a way that is tough.
She needs to catfish someone.
Yeah. She needs to be the first ever I'm hotter than my photos.
Yeah.
But even then, you know, as I always say, men date like resume building. If I can get Emily Ratajkowski, what else could I get?
Yeah. No, and I agree that is tough. I think that it is hard to be in that position.
Nobody's ever dated me to impress their friends. I'll tell you that. And it makes it really easy.
I guess I just feel very sad about the way that she, first of all, like doesn't believe anything that women experience until she experiences it herself. Like, I don't think she believes any experiences that are like universal. I think she thinks that like she has the hardest hardships and the most random ships.
Do you think she thinks she has the hardest hardships, or do you think she feels that if she doesn't like accurately portray how much it sucks, everybody will like wipe her away by going, well, you're just a hot girl? Do you know what I mean? I wonder if part of it is like this preemptive, like, no, you have to know it really sucks to be me. Otherwise,
but that's what I mean is like when she writes the hardest hardships, it's because she doesn't think anything will get taken seriously otherwise. But I don't know, she might be right. Like I think if she's not talking about it as if like I thought being a single mom would be the worst thing in the world. Like I don't think she's thinking about the other single moms that she's like talking about almost. I think she's thinking about like, how do I explain my belief in my experience?
And I also do wonder, like, secondarily, like, who's allowed to write essays? Do you know what I mean? Like, isn't that what the personal essay is? Like, my personal experience, take from it what you will.
Mm-hmm.
Then I do think you can get into the, like, would this essay written by a non-name have gotten into the cut if you weren't so sexy for being the topless girl in that music video? Do you like, and then because you've had this advantage in life by being hot, do you have to consider that when then you write your, like, you know what I mean? Like, I do think there is a trickiness of like, that is a personal essay.
Yeah.
Like that girl who wrote about having to break up with her Ozempic friend in the cut, like that was a personal freaking essay. Like Lena Dunham's essays are unique because they're personal. Who gets to write it? How personal are you allowed to be? How much do you have to consider the audience?
Yeah. I think I stand with the exact same place I stood with her book, which is that she's allowed to write it and I'm allowed to dislike it.
The truest shit, man. True shit. And then like how much does liking it dictate its quality?
Yeah, and I don't think liking it dictates its quality. I think she writes a good beginning, middle, and end essay. I think historically she's always got those beginnings, those middles, those ends. When you step back and think about who's writing it and the level of privilege, I mean, the way that she is talking about like embracing her womanhood and going out all night and then like coming home so that she is able to like see her kid. We were talking about how much a babysitter costs. She's embracing her womanhood from an incredibly privileged standpoint.
I also think that's a good point, is like she was trying to find herself through dating. I think it's perfectly reasonable to say, I'm going to find my sexuality. I'm going to find myself as like a sexual being post-motherhood and having this like kind of casual sex. She is constantly trying to find herself through men. The idea of being like, my new identity is going to come through like casual sex is sad.
Yeah.
Especially like not to be like, moms can't have sex, but I am like, I don't know. There's like, you're now a best-selling author, a mother, friends with Z-Way. That's a big part of who she is now, I think.
Yeah.
There's all these other parts of you. It seems like so much of you is dictated by
and
a man at the bar.
This idea that like, you know, she talks about like some of her fears of single motherhood, the way that like she's so worried about the lack of security, the lack of whatever. And I'm like, but you are a very independently wealthy person.
Yeah, how much money did Sebastian Bear Cloud have?
Exactly. I guess a lot laundered, but like, I think above board, not much.
Yeah, but then she did that bikini ad for the United Arab Emirates. Did they not pay you well?
Exactly. I mean, this to me reminds me a lot of that essay, Buying Myself Back, where she talks about how
hard it was to get $40,000 to buy a painting.
I think it was 60. And it's like, yeah, I don't know. A lot of people don't have $60,000 that they can scrape together to like buy art for self-empowerment. There are just so many layers to the essays she writes where I'm like, right, I hear where you're coming from. But like ultimately, who in society had these expectations of you actually? Like, I understand that you are wanting a husband and the approval of a man, but like the ways that you go after the approval of all men are like unflattering and to me unsympathetic.
My Holly Madison thing of at what point is a woman responsible for respecting herself?
Yes.
I understand that at 19, we all get put in shitty positions where you're like just trying to get along and like do what you were told. But then like once you're an adult millionaire with a child, it's kind of on you to say, I'm not going to give head to the guy I don't like.
Yeah. I'm single. I do want to get married. Like I want to be in a relationship. I want to get married someday. I don't want all men to be able to listen to this podcast and like think that I'm on their side. I just don't. You know what I mean? Like I later I'm going to talk some shit about Scott Galloway. I don't care if like men feel supported by my general ideologies because I think still in society they're doing just fine.
Well, I think the joke with her is that she would think that she has these political beliefs that scare men off.
Yes.
And I think that's the weird rub here is that I think she believes or does inhabit this persona of like
feminist,
like Bernie Sanders activist who like sees men for what they are. But then meanwhile, it's like, and what they are is the most important guy.
This idea that she's like, I'm going to show you who you really are, which is a guy who's going to get his dick sucked tonight.
Listen, it's hard out there. It's hard out there.
Hard out there. And like, can I say, I feel I have politics that scare men off. Like, I feel that it isn't something that I like don't ever consider, but I also wouldn't change. Do you know what I mean? And I think that that's maybe what annoys me about her is this idea that she is like objectively one of the hotter people on earth who is like, am I being too political? And it's like, literally, no, you're not. You're not.
Okay, Ashley, you did something pretty terrible. You had to listen to the Gwyneth Paltrow's many podcasts. Can you tell us what you learned?
Okay, I listened to 1.5 episodes only, and I did selectively listen to obviously ones I would disagree with because I don't believe I disagree with her all the time. I don't believe anyone disagrees with her all the time. She will agree with whatever's in front of her.
Can I say, I wonder if when she has more left-leaning guests on, if she does push back on them?
Well, I'm hard-pressed to find truly left-leaning guests, is I think an important point here.
So, interesting. What's her podcast called?
I think it's just the Goop podcast. So I want to talk about Gwyneth Paltrow this week because she recently made headlines for doing an ad for a luxury apartment complex in Israel.
The ad was shot in what looks like to be Central Park.
It was shot in New York.
Yeah. Because she's not going to go there.
I think some important things that people are upset about is the term being used here is Gwynethicide.
That's funny.
The complex is owned by a real estate company that does have real estate developments in illegal settlements in the West Bank.
You can't even be like the type of Zionist who's like, I think we all deserve respect. She's like, no, I think we should be slowly pushing them out illegally.
Yes. I think obviously we've talked a lot here about Israel and the genocide, illegal settlements in the West Bank. We are obviously very against Israel. I'll say me, but I think we.
Mm-hmm.
And I think something very interesting about this type of thing is you can't sit here and go like, not everything in Israel is evil. Some people are born there. Some people are raised there. Like, I don't know. Can't people just like keep going to their jobs at SodaStream? And it's like, I don't know, man, when they like murder a family to open up a factory in their house, like at what point are you supporting genocide? There are pro-Israel commenters who, you know, are very loudly saying criticism of Gwyneth Paltrow's real estate ad is anti-Semitism.
That's so funny.
This is such a funny thing. Hen Mazzig, who I believe to be a sociopath, said, any link between Paltrow and Jewish settlements, which are illegal under national law, has little to do with the backlash. Supporting Israel was reason enough to be vilified. I think that's so funny to be like, listen, people who are saying that they're mad at her because of the blatantly illegal activities done by the brand she's working with are just looking for an excuse.
That's always the thing that they're like, they don't even really care about those children being blown up. They're just mad at me. Like, why don't you believe me? I think children being, like, you don't think anybody cares about children being blown up?
Like,
nobody?
You don't think the illegal settlements under international law, which you hear say, this is illegal under international law, you really don't think anyone cares about that? Sure.
Then why am I out here every day on my own dime and my own time fighting pirates if I didn't care so much about international law?
I guess why is there an international law? Like, if it doesn't matter to anyone, like, why even call it that? There are very few artists around the world who can say things to support Israel or on behalf of Israel, says another culture correspondent. There are not a lot of people who will say something. This just is fundamentally untrue.
Wasn't there an entire...
Like, what about Melissa Barrera?
Well, can I say there also just was like a giant thing, like Hollywood letter of support for some director from Israel.
Yeah.
And it was signed by like Natalie Portman and like, I don't know, some big names.
Yeah. This thing that is always being said of like people are vilified for supporting Israel. It's like, yeah, by the powerless.
I do think it's shifting.
It is shifting. But
away from, like, at the beginning, it was so like you were penalized for speaking out about Palestine. But I do think there is a shift amongst the younger generations that is quantifiable.
I agree with that. However,
and I do think here we are. We know about the Gwyneth Paltrow thing because there was backlash. So I just to be fair, I'm not saying that it's like in any way infiltrated the people with power. And I'm not saying that in any way it's like affected things. But I do think we have gotten to a point where we cannot deny that the public opinion is against Israel. And it is now like a thing that I think if you're a neutral person who doesn't otherwise care, you probably would be warned against.
I was clarifying institutional backlash. I meant when you say no one can say anything about Israel, it's very rare for people to publicly support Israel. I just don't agree with that it's rare.
It's not rare, and there is an institutional backlash, but I do think, like, as evidenced by why we're talking about Gwyneth Paltrow at all, there was a huge backlash against her ad.
Yes, I agree.
So I do think when you look at the politicians that are winning, politicians are, I think a lot of Graham Plattner's platform was on being the first willing to say, hey, I think genocide's bad. Yes. Like, it actually is a winning ticket item now.
Yes, I agree.
But it in no way has shifted anything.
Yet. This Israel ad went live around the same time as that clip she posted that we talked about earlier in the episode, where she was saying that she considers herself very centrist. Her husband would consider her a Republican, but she feels very neutral on everything. And she just likes to learn more information and hear from all people. So I said, who's the people she's hearing from?
Isn't it interesting about when they hear from all people, it's like 6 dudes with the same ideas?
It's women too, but all rich ones. So I didn't listen to these episodes, but I want to say her recent episodes include Emily Hickey, who is someone I couldn't really find out why she was on Gwyneth's podcast because she doesn't have that many followers, but she is an expert in growth and brand marketing, and she works with Meta. Next up, we have Esther Perel. Lover, who is a little sympathetic towards AI companionship. And that the episode was about AI, dating a chatbot, basically.
And she thought that was good.
I didn't listen to the episode, so I can't say firmly. But it seems that it was sympathetic in the direction of why someone might.
Oh, well, you have to have sympathy for that.
Right. I agree.
If you're so lonely that you have a fake girlfriend, that is sad.
And I feel that Esther Perel being someone who's willing to kind of talk people through their relationships with AI chatbots, I am I guess it's good to not alienate someone who is in a relationship with an AI chatbot and also willing to go talk to an actual therapist.
I think in much like anything, it can't be us who thinks we're better. You can't be you're a stupid idiot. Let me help you.
Exactly. So again, I don't know what Gwyneth's conversation with her was. I'm just saying I know that is the topic realm of the conversation. I don't know if Gwyneth was sitting there saying, I'm glad that people have a real person they can talk to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that was her line of questioning.
Okay.
Julie Rice and Elizabeth Cutler, who are the founders of SoulCycle. They sit on the board at Equinox. They are fitness entrepreneurs. Andrew Huberman. I didn't listen to that episode. And then Scott Galloway, I listened to a little bit of. Here's something that I want to talk about with Scott Galloway. I was I guess I obviously can't watch every episode of her podcast to do this episode. She is bad at interviewing. And I think what's so interesting is when I think that there's something negative that happens right now where anytime anyone controversial is brought onto a podcast, someone goes, you're platforming them. I think it's a slippery slope to say that you can't interview anyone you disagree with because it brings you to a place where the only people who's interviewing anyone is the people who have the same politics as them.
Yeah.
That being said, I do think that if you are interviewing someone and you don't push back on a single thing they say, that is just platforming them. You're not interviewing, you're platforming.
You're amplifying.
And one of the very clear moments, I think, of this can be exemplified in her conversation with Scott Galloway, where obviously he's talking about men who commit suicide more than women, men.
It's because they're stronger. They have more upper body strength.
Exactly. It's easier. I think the actual research shows that it's because women have more responsibilities. There's a lot of research that women are less likely to kill themselves because they're abandoning their families or they're abandoning, they have
someone
people that they take care of.
Yeah. And men don't feel that pull really.
Exactly. No, I think that's like genuinely something I need someone to talk about with Scott Galloway.
Men don't feel like men ditch their kids all the time.
Yeah.
For pussy.
Not even as something as bold as the great beyond.
If I'm ditching you for a glass of milk, I'm going to ditch you for a good fat nap.
Anyway, first of all, he says some like psychotically anti-trans stuff in the guise of protecting women, of course.
Thank you, Scott Galloway, the only man who sticks up for women.
Kind of scoot right by it. Not a question in sight. And he is like really monologuing, but I would say as the interviewer, it is your Goop podcast. You have the opportunity to say, up, let's back it up. He says that it's men's duty to protect women. That's why he believes in like having 3 bathrooms, actually, because I think he talks about how trans women shouldn't be allowed to be on a women's sport team. That's dangerous to women. Trans women shouldn't be allowed in women's bathrooms. That's why there should be a 3rd separate bathroom.
Sure.
He goes, trans people should be able to exist. They just shouldn't be allowed to like intermingle, I guess. Which is like, fuck you, man. Anyway, so the thing that I found most interesting about the no pushback, first of all, he talks about the lack of male role models.
What about Jalen Brunson? What about all of the Knicks? What about Jose?
So those are male role models, but in real life, in the people you interact with in real life, the people who are responsible for childcare, women, the people who are especially elementary school teachers, veer predominantly female.
Of course. Well, why don't men take those roles? Is it because they historically were paid less because they were historically seen as unimportant?
And he has advocated for elementary school teacher men to get more incentive to be teachers. And
they should be paid. They should be paying men more. Do you think a man is more interesting?
Yeah. So again, no pushback. And then this is where I think this is like where the clear question was for me is he's talking about how
true, Ashley?
Huh?
He thinks they should pay men more to be teachers.
He talks about this all the time. He has a lot of writing about it. I actually don't know if he thinks all teaching should be a higher wage position or if he thinks men should be paid more, but he does think there should be like awards for like best male teacher to like incentivize men to be paid more. I didn't read all of his writing about it, but this is another thing, platforming versus interviewing. These are all talking points that he talks about a lot. Because when I Googled that to see what he believes there, I found a couple Substacks about it. I found like other information. Like he talks about this a lot.
And yet no follow-up questions.
Which I think is pretty crucial. And I think, you know, if I were to interview him, it's just very easy to find what he's definitely going to talk about. The Diabolical Lies podcast did a great episode about Scott Galloway where they go into his book and all of these things are in there. Like I think...
Yeah. And there's no follow-up question.
He has a podcast. He has a Substack. There's a lot of places where you can find like exactly what he's going to talk about.
So that you're prepared to follow up with a question.
Yes. So I think one of the more interesting things he said in the part that I listened to is he's saying that we need to like kind of encourage trade school. Like men should be learning a trade. There are like high wage positions where men can feel valuable in working in HVAC, but we've kind of stigmatized it in society. We've made it seem like unskilled labor, even though it's very skilled labor.
Let me tell you, my neighbor at the beach, she owns like 7 properties, an HVAC king.
Yeah, and I think...
he's doing very well for himself.
And I think he's right about like the middle class kind of stigmatizing certain...
Can I say, I very much believe that actually right now, beyond just certain career paths, that being middle class in and of itself is like, people see it as like a fate worse than death. And that, not that the idea of the middle class, but this idea that right now it takes so much to be comfortable that it's like they'd rather go into debt than like live some kind of life where you're working 9 to 5 and you get to go on 1 vacation a year. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like I do think everything is so expensive and it's such hard work to just have the bare minimum, which the middle class used to be better than that like there is this feeling of like, fuck it.
But in this conversation about kind of unstigmatizing trade professions, he says, I myself would be devastated if my sons didn't go to a reputable 4-year university.
Yeah.
Not one
not for
fucking
me.
question about that line of thinking, because it's so obvious in this moment that Scott Galloway believes that this like male problem is in like lower and middle class men. He does not believe rich men have a problem.
I've never met an insecure rich guy. Have you?
I mean, it's so crazy.
I've never met a rich guy with an anger issue or like a Napoleon complex or like a resentment for women or like who failed to succeed.
And this made me think so much about that water polo expose in Vanity Fair about these boys at Harvard Westlake, a very rich private school in Los Angeles, who were like violently assaulting one of their teammates who was Black. And like the way we have like sexual assault at private schools, the way we have like this belief that Scott Galloway has that the only men, like when he is giving this advice, he is talking about not rich people. Yeah. And I feel like it's never been so clear as in that moment to me. And for her to just like let him keep going. For him to say we need to destigmatize.
Well, because she believes that too. And like not for nothing, but her daughter was kicked out of school for being racist.
Yeah. From Harvard Westlake, I believe.
Yeah. So like she is like, well, yeah, but that got to do with us? That's not a problem. That was an instance.
Exactly. Watching her conduct this interview, for people to say, I can't believe her politics, like why would she align with Israel? And it's like, she's aligning with like wealth and power always. Always, always, always.
And even Goop, a lot of the ways she's gotten past criticism is by saying straight up, well, I don't think that most people can buy this. I just think they'd be interested in what I'm up to. Like she really does see herself as, she is quite literally in a different class than most people, but she sees it as like a value statement. Like I'm a different class of person.
Yes. Which brings me to the next interview that I watched in its entirety. It made me genuinely sick to my stomach. I learned who Trey Stevens is.
I said, who is that?
I wish I could go back. I wish. Trey Stevens is a partner at Peter Thiel's venture capital firm, the Founders Fund. He came up as a Palantir employee before founding his weapons company, Anduril.
Oh, yay. Why on earth would Goop interview a weapons company CEO? Like, think about that. Her whole thing is wellness and like ashwagandha and like strengthening your vaginal core. Why on earth would wellness girlies need to know about weapons?
That's a really good question.
What would even if this is who she's friends with in real life and like what her value system is that like what would that have to do with her business plan of selling girls matcha?
That's a really good question, Claire. And I got no answer because this bitch can't interview for shit. But I did find out who Trey Stevens is. I found out who his wife is. She is a founder of ACTS 17.
What's that?
Great question. Acknowledging Christ within technology and society. It is an evangelical organization, an evangelical church that like aims itself at Silicon Valley. We see an industry and a generation chasing influence, but longing for something unshakable. We see brilliant, high-achieving people feeling more disconnected, anxious, and spiritually adrift than ever. We see the divide between the sacred and the secular, keeping people from seeing how Jesus sees it as one. We see a culture that is so over Christianity, but never understood it to begin with. Everyone worships something. We're just asking you to consider what you're worshiping. Because chasing self-actualization won't get you to peace, because Jesus changes everything. You were made on purpose, for a purpose, and this is your invitation to explore what might be.
So Gwen interviews this woman, or
That's just the wife, and I think it's important because he is a self-proclaimed Christian.
Who owns a weapons company?
And is a billionaire.
What would Jesus have to say about that?
Okay, we'll get to that later. We'll get
Did you ask him?
I didn't ask. Gwyneth did, sort of. And I think something really interesting is that in listening to Gwyneth Paltrow's interview, where I felt truly disturbed, I also found an interview with Wired magazine where they do push back on a lot of these statements. And he kind of plows forth.
Well, he's got God and $1 billion on his side. Why wouldn't he just say what he was already going to say?
No, exactly.
And if you don't like it, guess what? He can bomb you.
Oh, also, he was on the transition team for the Defense Department during Trump's first term. So it's interesting because you can find out a little more about what he has to say about things in the Wired interview because that author asks questions, whereas Gwyneth just kind of like allows him to
It is so crazy she had him on the podcast.
No, it's truly insane. So who is he? He was truly affected by 9/11.
Yeah, weren't we all?
So he wanted to go into service of some kind. He
and
ended up working.
He found a way of giving himself to $1 billion.
Like literally, so he won't say what
Some
department.
people joined the military.
So he worked in like something in the government, but he won't say which department. She says, were you in the CIA? LOL. He says, no, I wasn't in the CIA. But like he was in something, but he can't say what. He went from there to Silicon Valley, basically. But something that he thinks, so he also talked a lot about the male suicides, which once again, simple statistic, women have responsibilities, so they don't kill themselves as much, even though they live in a world that's just as bad and is actually more evil to them than it is to men. Something that he finds, so what his company, Anduril, has all these weapons contracts. How did he make $1 billion? It's because he like has worked in government defense, and he like knows where the inefficiencies are, and he just like kind of goes straight there instead of through the bureaucracy. He like sells weapons on like a more direct level instead of trying to go through like Deloitte contracts.
D2C weapon sales.
No, actually.
If someone to say, does that sound smart? I go, that sounds really smart. If your goal is to get to hell, I'd say that's like a perfect plan.
He learned a lot through first working in government defense and then working in Silicon Valley, where he like saw all these places of like inefficiencies. He feels there's so much bureaucracy in the Defense Department, in the government in general. The point is, he like sees it all as inefficiency, which I don't. Some people, obviously, there are inefficiencies in our government. I'm not going to sit here and be like the DMV is the best way to do things, but I do feel that saying like the way we go to war is so inefficient, we should be able to do it better. We have like red tape for a reason. It's so we like kill less people, but we like still actually end up killing a lot of people. So it's like, don't even worry about it, bro. We're still killing a ton.
Yeah, but how is he making his nut?
Exactly. So he is creating lower cost weapons that are made from like cheaper materials that are essentially like meant to be lost in battle.
Oh my God, we can't have can't have plastic straws and they get to have one-use weapons?
Yeah, basically. Because he was like, sometimes when you're doing certain things, you're gonna
like if you have to abandon your tank.
Like he's like, you're gonna be more mindful about going to war if you're gonna like lose $1 billion worth of weapons. But if they're like $100,000 weapons, you might just do war faster. Yay. But he doesn't think it that way.
I cannot believe his wife is like
No, he is like the Silicon Valley Christian. That's how he like came up.
I guess that's how he knows JD Vance, right? Because Peter Thiel prepped JD Vance to go be president.
Mm-hmm.
I guess they like go to church together and their pastor is like, the best thing you can do is murder everybody for as much money as possible. That's what Jesus said. That was kind of like the newest testament.
So what Jesus says is that sometimes
God changed the rules of the world. It's actually King of the Hill style last man wins.
He believes that in order to engineer peace, sometimes you must make conflict. So sometimes the path to peace is through conflict.
That you've engineered?
And Jesus agrees with him.
Where would Jesus see that?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. So he says people think war is just like conquering, destroying. You're like waging war for the sake of violence.
But it's actually, it as like letting off steam.
No, it's like for the sake of peace, which I think if you think someone else is like fundamentally bad, right? The way that like Zionists view Palestinians, they say like in order to have peace, we have to like wipe these people out because they're the ones creating conflict. That's how he views war. He's like, I don't want there to just be war. We have to do war in order to have global peace because like there are bad actors. He uses bad actors, of course. There are bad actors that are like
entire nations of people.
Yeah, standing in the way between us and peace. And he believes that it is his God-given right to like have his version of an ideal world, basically.
And Gwyneth is just listening to this?
Yes.
And because this is her friend?
Yes.
And she thinks more people should know about him in a good way?
Yes.
This is actually psychotic.
Yes.
She sells
vagina eggs.
She was supposed to like give you advice on where to get your eyebrows waxed.
So do you hear why I like walked away from this interview? Like I was like physically shaking. I was like, oh, did I have too much yerba mate?
Okay, so I recently did a podcast. It's part of this newsletter called Garbage Day. And it was about how Peter Thiel was funding like Dime Square.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really interesting. I actually recommend you go listen to it. It's like, it's on my Instagram right now. But like, I didn't know any of this. Apparently that's like well known downtown. But like Peter Thiel was funding all of that stuff. Like that girl Madden Cash, I think like has taken money from Peter Thiel because they were hoping to start like a conservative version of, again, like the 1920s Ernest Hemingway times. Anyway, the podcast was kind of like raising the question, why is he doing this? And I think something like this podcast, like that you're talking about, the Gwyneth Paltrow podcast, I am genuinely curious why these evil rich guys are like coming out of the woodwork to become popular figures. Like, why does he want Gwyneth Paltrow's audience to know about him and what he's doing? Is it because they've recognized that we live in a world where visibility, like in the Donald Trump era, is that a key component of your world domination? Like, do you need that power in order to go forth? Or is it just like the hubris that like once you have that much money, what you want to is to be adored? Or maybe it's the Christianity part of it. Like maybe for him specifically is about evangelizing Christianity. But like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I made $1 billion killing people and selling weapons, I kind of would lay low. The same thing about Peter Thiel. For years, he was like the secret billionaire in the back. He waged war with Vulture via Hulk Hogan. Like he was kind of a shady figure who was just secretly also doing war shit, but becoming very rich. And now I'm interested, why do these men need to become public? Like in the Elon Musk Trump era of Instagram, like the Instagrammable evil dude, like why do they want that persona? And I think my question really is, and I can't get to the bottom of it because obviously I can't think like these people. Is it because there's so much power in it, or is it because there's so much ego in it?
I think it's both. I think that there's this desire, because I think what's so interesting is in this Christianity aspect of it, right? Like he needs to believe that he is on a mission that is like righteous. And I think that having passive support in more neutral spaces like a wellness blog is hugely important to that mission. Like why do these things from a position of Christianity? Like this is all so many psychotic things to do at once. Like he really does remind me of like if Charlie Kirk wasn't stupid. I think Charlie Kirk had these elements where like he had to debate college students because he was ultimately like a figurehead and an idiot. But I think that this is very much like there is a righteousness, there is a belief, and there is like a need for cultural agreement in order to continue forth on this mission, because part of it is convincing himself that he is right and good. He has this matrix that he mentions in both the Wired article and his Gwyneth Paltrow interview, where he says there are 4 quadrants. There is feels good is good, feels bad is bad, feels bad is good, and feels good is bad. And he believes funding war feels bad, but is for good.
But like, why not do something that feels good is good, like this podcast? It's fun for me to chat with you, and I kind of feel like it's better that people know Gwyneth Paltrow is evil. I guess actually right now this feels bad.
Yeah, exactly. Again, he gets into all these topics. I want to back up a little bit.
He's doing this like incredibly like what my dad does when one of us buys a food that it turns out sucks ass, and he just sits there and eats like disgusting goop cereal until it's gone because like it feels bad, but it is good that we don't waste the food. He thinks he's eating like the shitty cereal that we bought by accident by being the guy to make war more efficient.
Yes, like he doesn't at any point, and no one is asking him to acknowledge like,
what about the people who die?
Is this just like an American imperialist perspective?
Is this just a capitalist perspective where you're like, how like you found a way? If you could have made $1 billion by like helping babies get enough food, would you have done that instead?
Yeah, so I want to get into the capitalism of it in a second. I want to talk first about the male loneliness of it all, because again, we talk about the male loneliness epidemic.
Well, maybe they're lonely because you killed all their wives in war.
Actually, they're lonely because we aren't making them do mandatory civil service, which he doesn't mean is just war. He means any government job. He thinks like we should have like manual conscription to like the DMV, basically, where like
how about you go work in the DMV? How lucky that you worked in a part of the government that like gave you an idea of how to make $1 billion.
Yeah, so he thinks everyone should have to do that. And Gwyneth like thought he was talking about mandatory military service, and she talked about living in Spain and how at that time there was, I think, mandatory conscription. And her Spanish, she has half siblings that are in Spain, and like she was like celebrating the way that it made them much more like purposeful and patriotic to have served in the military.
Well, I'm sure she was secretly talking about Israel.
Of course she was secretly talking about Israel. So this brings us back to the Israel ad, right? These are Gwyneth Paltrow's politics. Like she is Gwyneth's side. She is someone who is like on the side of patriotism and like the cause, and the cause is Western imperialism. Like she is extremely on board with it. And so I think what's so interesting is when people go like,
Spain does not have mandatory military conscription.
So she was just talking about Israel, but calling it
I
Spain.
guess it was officially abolished in 2001 at her age.
Yeah.
So I guess it is possible, but I do feel like, of course.
I think it was possible for her siblings.
But I mean, like who, like I guess Spain didn't agree.
Right.
I guess her siblings grew up to be like, maybe we shouldn't do this for future generations.
The fact that she's bending over backwards, not even being asked necessarily to like agree with this policy of his, this idea of his, it's not even a policy. Like she is bending over backwards to be like, and my siblings in Spain did that and loved it. I'm genociding right now and loving it. Anyway, she agrees with him and says, and I quote, "Friction is where character is built."
What friction are they experiencing?
None, because they weren't mandatory DMV people. That's why she has no character. That's why she's like a fucking ragdoll in this interview.
I don't think she is a ragdoll. I think she's hearing what she likes. I think she's do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What I find so interesting, so I was thinking again about Josh Tell the Bees' thing he told us about the like white supremacy right to comfort. And I think so much of this step in like the mission is based on that, right? Like you have...
So, right, this is something that Josh keeps teaching us about white culture. Because I was like, what do you mean some cultures don't think it's good to like be easy to get along with and not make anybody feel uncomfortable? I can't even imagine. But like one of the things about white supremacy is this idea that like the worst thing you can do is like cause a scene or cause a ruckus. And he was like, well, I'm like from a Hispanic family. And obviously like in our culture, it's not such an ostracizing situation if you're somebody who like alerts people to your problems. Like you're allowed to like be like, I'm not happy with this. Whereas in like, it's very white culture to be like, you're not allowed to discuss how much money you make because it might make somebody feel bad to find out that they're getting ripped off, or it might make your boss feel bad to have to address the fact that he's ripping somebody off. And this is very waspy when you think about it. This idea, like the worst thing you could do is bring up a problem that's valid.
And I think this was so relevant in the Kelty Knight Alex Cooper thing that she said about, I was made to feel like I was taking advantage of her. It feels almost like in doing a hard negotiation, she was made to feel like she was being difficult.
Yeah.
We see this in Alex Cooper's interviews generally, where like she doesn't push back on people. Part of it is because she's a bad interviewer, and part of it is because I don't think she wants to be creating any sort of conflict. Like that's not what she's looking for. That's not what her audience wants to hear. And I think that we see that again with Gwyneth Paltrow. Like the thing is, even when you agree with something,
I want to push back on you even. Sorry to your comfort. I don't think it's necessarily them specifically being like, I don't want to push back. It's that they have succeeded in a white supremacist world where capitalists who have found ways to make $1 billion off of killing children with weapons succeed because the best way for you yourself to succeed is to not push back on those people.
Yes.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't say like Alex Cooper herself is like, well, I don't want to make you feel uncomfortable. It's like Alex Cooper is successful because you can count on the fact that she won't. And in that way, she succeeds. Like the only people who get to succeed are the people who would never make an evil warmonger feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, but I think that they also expect it from their audience and use it to their advantage very heavily. Like I think that Gwyneth Paltrow and Alex Cooper are two people who have cultivated predominantly white female audiences who are not going to sit there and like say, wait, this seems a little fucked up. You know what I mean? Like that is controversial. And if you do that, and we've experienced this over and over and over again, you're being a hater.
Yeah. And I think you look at the Jimmy Fallon article that was written recently about like the empty nothingness of Jimmy Fallon and that scene where he famously like rubs Trump's head and laughs giddily in his face as fascism descends. And it is like the people who are watching that and enjoying that are people who are like, I don't want to be forced to deal with the fact that this man could put thousands of immigrants into cages.
Yes. Exactly.
If he wins. Like, it's like, I'd rather sit here. Like, oh, why do we have to bring that? Like, the people who say, why do we have to get upset about politics? Like, why does politics have to come? Like, why can't we be friends just because we disagree about who deserves human rights? It's like a right to comfort thing.
Yeah.
Of like, we should all be able to sit at Thanksgiving and have a nice time, even though I think killing children is good and you don't. Or even if you're like, the middle ground, I think is like, sure, Uncle whoever thinks it's great to kill kids and that like every woman who's accused someone of rape is a lying whore. But like, what are you going to ruin my Thanksgiving over it?
Yeah. So when kind of pushed back upon in the Wired interview, Trey Stevens amplifies that in creating more disposable weapons, but also AI weaponry. So they use weapons where like a person doesn't have to go out there. He says, humans fight wars and humans are flawed. We make mistakes. Even back when we were standing in lines and shooting at each other with muskets, there was a process to adjudicate violations of the law of engagement. I think that will persist. Do I think that there will never be a case where some autonomous system is asked to do something that feels like a gross violation of ethical principles? Of course not, because it's still humans in charge. Do I believe that it's more ethical to prosecute a dangerous, messy conflict with robots that are more precise, more discriminating, and less likely to lead to escalation? Yes. Deciding not to do this is to continue putting people in harm's way. So he genuinely is out here trying to make people believe. And I'm not saying he genuinely believes, because I don't believe anyone could believe this. He is trying to make people believe that it is more ethical to fight wars with AI because you're not putting people in harm's way. And
I mean, it's such a way of acknowledging that there's only certain groups of people you see as human.
Exactly, because it's like, okay, but if you don't want to put people in harm's way, who are the robots pointed at? Yeah, interesting. Anyway, he is asked about his political standing, which he also doesn't consider himself to be a Republican. He says,
they never do.
He considers himself to be left of center, but not a Republican. Republicans, though, are more likely to get a thoughtful government that does the right thing, even when it doesn't feel good. This goes back to his axis. There's a core reason I consider myself to be right of center. On the left, there's too much emotion-driven decision-making.
I mean, emotion-driven decision-making really does come from the idea that like every person involved you see as a human being who's worthy of like dignity and respect and like the right of law. I mean, it's very easy to sit here and say, isn't it better to have nobody get hurt in war with AI? But like, that's not the truth. The hysterical left saying that's bad is considering that the people on the other side of those weapons are also human beings, and that if there is not an American on that weapon, then there will be less consideration when you just blow up a whole town and go, well, I heard there was a terrorist there. Oh shit, that was a kid.
Anyway, so then the reporter asks about JD Vance as the vice presidential nominee, because this was in 2024. The interviewer says not everyone is glad about this. He's getting whacked for his views and his flip-flopping. We know now that Trey Stevens is a friend of JD Vance through their menteeship under Peter Thiel. He says, the state of discourse in American politics is pathetic. All of things that JD Vance is being raked over the coals for are memes, made-up stories. People are throwing around comments about him being weird. That is terrible for America. I want a real dialogue about policy, and I don't think that we can have the ability to do that anymore. I'm incredibly concerned for democracy.
Don't worry. I hate him for some like very legitimate reasons. It's so the same playbook of like, nobody's really mad about blowing up kids. They're just trying to be anti-Semitic. Of like, nobody really hates JD Vance's policies. They just like hate his weird eyeliner. No,
I hate his policies. And also, I think it does this thing that the right is so prone to do, where it's just this ever-shifting goalpost, right? Like this idea that people are making up stories. No, they're not. They're actually not. And people on the left are doing name callings. People on the right do much more name calling, and the interviewer does bring that up. But this is what I think was really important from the Wired interview, is that they ask again about Jesus, because obviously as a renowned Silicon Valley Christian, there's a lot of questions. Like you asked earlier, how do you do weapons manufacturing? And how are you a billionaire?
Yeah, you know, they say the llama gets through a needle like a rich man gets into heaven or whatever.
The Wired interviewer asks, would Jesus have liked venture capitalists? And he says, I think Jesus doesn't care about classes of people. He cares about people. And he goes, well, I'm talking about what they do. And this is something he brought up in the Gwyneth Paltrow interview as well, is Jesus doesn't want you to worship false idols, right? So if your idol is your monetary value, he wouldn't want you to have it. Like, he tells different people to give up different things based on like what is distracting them from a godly mission. It seems he believes his wealth is not his idol. It seems it's not distracting him from his godly mission.
You know how people sometimes
just like
randomly become billionaires?
Yeah.
And it's not even something they cared about. It's just like, I don't know.
No, so he just like has it. So he's allowed to have it.
That's like me with garbage in my purse. I don't know how it just came there. I don't know.
And it's not distracting me from my mission. I'm going to keep going with or without garbage in my purse. I'm going to get to where I need to go.
Yeah, and it's going to hold the other stuff I want it to hold.
So anyway, Gwyneth Paltrow, the interview finishes up with them talking about, you know, the kind of people they are, which I like when people proclaim those things.
I bet they're good people.
She says she can feel people and she loves people.
Not the people who get blown up by this guy's AA weaponry, but the alive ones that also have mansions.
She considers herself to be fundamentally curious, which I think is a curious term for someone who asks not one leading question.
It means different things to her. She does always want to buy new stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm fundamentally curious about the composition of that sweater.
Yeah. I'm like just like interested in ways that my life could be better.
I'm fundamentally curious about...
And this guy's yacht is one of them. And I'm curious about it. And I'd like to go on.
Herbs that might be good for sexual health. So, you know, he believes that Jesus dictates based on the condition of your heart. If wealth isn't your idol, you can keep it. Anyway, so the point is, when people are mad at Gwyneth Paltrow for her allegiance to Israel, there's actually way worse stuff to be mad at her for, and you should be pissed at her for all of it.
Which is that she's actually more aligned with just like the right to weapon use.
Yeah.
Of any kind, of any country.
She's like very down for like drone-based imperialism. I want to do a quick caps off to Lindsay Hubbard. She is, I think, like both pleasing and displeasing various factions of the internet with her West Wilson tirade, because I think some people are like, I don't know, Lala style, you were like fine to get along with him while it was serving you. And now he's like about to tank every Bravo entity that you're associated with.
I do think that there's an interesting key here.
Okay. Couple of tings, she says, and I want to emphasize that there is no H. 1, West Wilson, you are trash. Trying to get people not to watch our show that I brought you on. You should move immediately. This is in reference to West Wilson hoping that the Knicks went to Game 6 because then less people would be watching Bravo on Tuesday night. 2, I haven't seen Tuesday's Aftermath episode, but I feel it in my bones. It is good. Even though we know some people didn't listen, still good. 3, In the City is just heating up. We are halfway, and holy shit, what a roller coaster of a season. 4, our In the City reunion was so good, we might have 2 parts. 5, I'm on Carl's podcast on Tuesday. Sleep well, team.
So I know what Wes said was that on his podcast where he's been spilling all of his tea as opposed to the reunion, he said, I hope that the Knicks win in 6 because their next game would be at home on Tuesday and maybe it would stop people from watching the reunion, the after part thing that they filmed recently, which is silly because who even watches it live? I get that some of people were watching the reunion live, but I'm like, we'd all watch it on Peacock like an hour later. That being said, did he also make fun of the In the City? It sounds like he maybe said like the only reason they're doing it is to get people to watch In the City. It sucks.
Yeah.
Here's why I want to give shout out to Lindsay. At the end of the day, they all make money when that show's on, and she's keeping the engine afloat. Talk about not caring if she's a girl's girl or a mean girl. She does what she has to protect her bag. She's a single mother, EmRata. She's a very sexy single mother, and she has got to make money for that giant apartment she has in like an empty condo building at the base of Manhattan. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel mixed about it because I think Lindsay Hubbard is going to Lindsay Hubbard and like go off, I suppose. I have a little bit of trouble with the amount of like you are trash coming from Lindsay because like the only reason she hates him is because he's like hurting the franchise.
And because it's popular to do so.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and because like right now we've seen it over and over and over again, the amount of people who are getting like good guy edits just for like being not West. Like Kyle is having a fucking return arc that he's going to blow any second now because he won't stop hanging out with like other canceled Bravo celebrities. Did you see when he was photographed with Craig Conover?
I don't think people care about that.
I saw some people being like, oh, we were just starting to like you. And it's like, why?
No, that's very divided because I know that the Southern Charm people like loved him.
Okay.
But he was just photographed with Amanda and people are pissed about that.
Yes. And I think that there's this like interesting thing happening right now where people are not letting reality take place. And I know reality TV isn't real, whatever, but like, I think what we're seeing right now is what was the downfall of Vanderpump Rules, which is unfortunately, and I get why Lindsay wants to keep this show alive, but it's ultimately going to be the downfall, like the desperate attempts to keep the show afloat. The things you have to say in order to ideally move plot lines forward is going to create this like odd tornado of like what is real and what is fake and like what is put on. Because I think ultimately like Kyle not being able to talk to Amanda makes no fucking sense. They spent 10 years together. Like the idea that he should like put a hit on her makes no sense. But like the audiences aren't like letting anyone function as people anymore. They're all like characters in this snafu, you know?
Yeah. And we will talk all about it on the Patreon. We've been week by week updating. So if you want to hear all of our Summer House thoughts, they are there and they will continue for this new bonus after the cameras back up episode.
Yeah. So good night.
And Good Notice Things. Support for Good Notice Things comes from cotton, the fabric of our lives.
Hey, you know something I noticed right now?
What?
We're both wearing 100% cotton, 100% vibey ass vintage t-shirts that have been around for like probably a billion years.
Do you know how durable this shirt is? This was like a guy I dated in college's favorite shirt. And I think he's pissed I stole it from him, but I hope he knows that like I'm still getting good wear out of it. I graduated from college in 2014.
I mean, when I think of the things that have come and gone since 2014, I've lived in like 5 apartments in 2 different major cities.
I'm wearing a Knicks shirt. This shirt's probably existed since the last Knicks championship.
And that was before anybody in this town was born. I mean, there's something about getting just like the perfect crisp cotton t-shirt and then knowing it's going to be your favorite shirt, I don't know, forever.
It just gets softer with age. I love it because I look cute in it, but I can also sleep in it because it's so soft. It's so breathable. It's so cozy.
The next time you shop, check the tags for cotton.